For months, the drivers in the Northwest Racing Series have been competing with one goal in mind: to lock themselves in to the West Bay Napa Auto Parts playoffs. Well, tonight, for its Cup competitors, the journey for a championship now begins its biggest moments. Tonight, the top drivers in the series are ready to begin the 2020 edition of the playoffs at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. As we say good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the West Bay Napa Auto Parts 206, presented by Walls Beer Co. and LSR TV, live on LSR TV and CRN Sports. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside of the booth tonight is Greg Rent. Charles Wood in the director's seat. Wesley Otwin will also join us from the pit lane throughout tonight's action. This is the start of what has been something the drivers have been preparing for all the way back since March. A chance to compete for a championship. The pressure is now completely on for every single driver in the field tonight to try and show what they can do and to also get wins to make sure they can fight for a title.
12 drivers have fought their way through every single race here this season. 25 in the books. This marks round number 26, and it's down to 12 drivers for a shot at a championship, the inaugural Northwest Cup Series championship, as this is the first time the Northwest Racing Series has run Cup cars. For 12 drivers, it all resets tonight here at Atlanta for 134 laps on a very fast Atlanta racing surface, the oldest surface that the Cup Series will hit this season, Justin. There you see your 12 drivers who are going for a championship.
The drivers you see 2,000 points on up are your playoff drivers for this season. Each driver, with each victory they secured throughout the regular season, earned one bonus point that carried over to this part of the season. Sean Brightsman was your leader in wins with 7 on the campaign. Seth Frazier secured 5 wins, while Dan West Jr. secured 4. Chris White and Jeff Stabno won twice, with BJ Tidrick and Corey Walters, along with Dan Lowther, winning 1 race apiece. Dan Lowther, of course, winning at Talladega to lock himself into the playoffs down in the final laps of that one. In on points were Stephen Paulison, Ricky Bozier, Carl Burke, and John Annenbacher. Also keep this in mind, there's also a Best of the Rest championship for 13th on back, where the highest ranked driver for that championship, sponsored by LSR TV, will also get to celebrate, similar to how the playoff system worked in the early days of NASCAR system on that side, Greg. So you have 2 types of championships: the overall season title for the playoffs and the Best of the Rest up for grabs.
2 championships on the line here. The overall champion of the West Bay Napa Auto Parts playoffs and the Best of the Rest championship. 12 drivers going for it, Justin. This is our second trip here to Atlanta. Playoff driver Sean Brightsman, he picked up the win here back in April. So with that being said, does Brightsman have an advantage over the rest of his playoff competitors, knowing that the last time we were here, he visited Victory Lane in this Cup car?
We'll have to wait and see, especially keep in mind it was an 8 caution affair, a much different weather system for these drivers tonight though. It is in-sim day, October the 15th, 2020. In-sim time just before 12 p.m. at the moment. The track temp, very cold because it's the fall time, Greg. That's going to be the kicker. This track, known for its normal heats, when you see it in the springtime, it's just 88 degrees Fahrenheit track temp tonight, 79 degrees the air temp, and that's going to potentially pick up a bit by noon, but cool off by the checkered flag.
And Justin, 88 degrees might sound like a lot here if we're talking ambient temperature, air temperature, but for a racing surface here, for a 134 lap race, the drivers would call that ice cold. It is cold on the track surface. Doesn't sound it, but 88 degrees compared to what we have seen in the past, especially here at Atlanta, not just in the Northwest Racing Series, but other series in general. 88 degrees, that's pretty cold, which means this track is going to have more grip in it than it usually would. With that being said, the driver still got to worry about tire wear because of how abrasive this cheese grater of a racing surface is on these tires, but the cooler temperatures are going to help just a little bit in that regard, but you still are going to want 4 tires every opportunity you get.
Absolutely. Tire sets and tire strategy going to be crucial tonight. Qualifying is now underway, and want to turn to Wesley Outland as we get ready to go racing here for the second time this season. What are some of the points you feel drivers should know and fans should know with this type of race? A cooler track here at Atlanta, and playoff points on the line and playoff spots on the line for the next round if you can win, if you're in those blue name drivers on the left side of your pylon.
Well, as always, good evening, gentlemen. Atlanta Motor Speedway is no doubt one of the fastest racetracks on the Cup Series schedule, virtual or reality. And with that, there's going to be a lot of speed. There's going to be a lot of intense racing. I'm seeing a lot of new drivers on the entry list that have ran the season or have returned to this new playoff season here in the West Bay Napa Auto Parts playoffs. But the question is very simple to answer here, Justin. No mistakes. If you can be able to get through the playoff opening round here at Atlanta with flawless pit stops, no penalties, no EOLs, no mistakes of overshooting pit stalls or making the wrong call, missing the setup, that could be the key of getting you in from the round of 12 or the championship 8 to the championship 8 playoff from the round of 12 is what I meant. You watch all the drivers in the tickers in blue, they're going to have to be flawless, no mistakes. And again, this is going to be an awesome battle to see who will survive in the next 9 races. Pit lane should be exciting. It should be fun. We'll cover the action down pit road and grab interviews to boot here at Hotlanta tonight.
And as you see, qualifying is underway for Nick Bellamy. Many newcomers coming into the race tonight. He's one of them. Nathan Clifford, we haven't seen too much of in 2020 in the Cup cars. Garrett Hupfines for the first time in months will be racing in the field tonight. And several others, including Wayne Rick and a few others here and there scattered in. A chance for drivers, yes, to start a playoffs to also show I'm going to potentially be a factor in 2021 if you give me a shot.
Yeah, drivers trying to make a statement towards 2021, especially the drivers outside of the playoffs, Justin. As their hunt for a championship is over, now they're free to try different things moving in towards next season. See if they can build something up here. If this is indeed what we do next year for the Northwest Racing Series, who knows? We may take a step back and go back to the Xfinity cars, which has been what they historically ran on Monday nights. There's no guarantees the Cup Series will be in action again next year. We would like to think it would, because it has been some fantastic racing, but there's no guarantee about it. Right now we got playoff drivers 1, 2, 3 on top of the board. Dan West Jr., Seth Frazier, and John Ottenbacher, your top 3.
Of note, by the way, one driver will get evented alongside Pelony because they qualified during the drivers' meeting. As per usual, Eric Cheney, the outlaw that he is in the 71, will have to start at the rear of the field, so that will shuffle everyone in his row one spot forward. Keep that in mind at the end of qualifying. Tyler King, he's been competitive, and as we talked about a little bit, Greg, him and Stephen O'Hare switch paint schemes, so no, you're not mixing up the cars. It's a different paint scheme on Tyler King's car. This time he's driving that Peels machine.
Tyler King, he drove that sponsor earlier. He repped that sponsor, Peels Oranges, in the truck race here on Thursday night. Wesley can attest. Justin, Tyler King looked like he had the truck to beat at Atlanta in the first half of the race. Unfortunately, got caught up with a lap driver right around the halfway point, which effectively ended his night. But he's looking for some serious redemption here in that number 44 Peels Oranges entry tonight.
29.9 for his first qualifying lap, by the way. Keep an eye on how the second lap goes. The best times in qualifying right now are 29.7s. The practice times were about 2 to 3 tenths quicker than what they were in the springtime as well with the cooler track temp. Tyler King, 29.794 on his second lap. Decent run in qualifying, gets him up to P6 for now. 32 drivers are making their way to the track tonight. Jeff Stabnow now on screen, Greg.
Jeff Stabnow on track in the 24. I gotta say though, I'm very impressed. Look who's sitting in third right now. John Ottenbacher, the 89. Not necessarily known for his qualifying speed in the 89, but sitting in third right now, as many of the drivers have already clicked away a lap. So that's very impressive for Ottenbacher in the 89, as of course you're watching Jeff Stabnow, who is a favorite every single time he enters a Northwest Racing Series race, be it Cup or Truck, and he's trying to show right now as he will go up into, let's see, where did he fall? He falls 9th on the screen. Meanwhile, don't look now, but look who jumped in the second. Chris White in the number 83. 2 wins this season, including one at Texas, a track with a similar, although less similar now with the reconfiguration layout of Atlanta. But mile-and-a-half track, Chris White has a win on one of those this year.
Yeah, he's been really quick the second half of the season. James Thurston once again back for another race. He was competitive at Talladega. He'll be one of the drivers looking to gain valuable points. He's had an up-and-down campaign with a hard-time calendar schedule at times this season. Now, one of the drivers want to bring attention to, though, is one race away from history. The number 46 of Sean Brightsman will have a different look tonight for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, like many drivers tonight with the pink cars. But the main thing to note is, he was your winner in the Truck Series, Greg. Guess what? He wins tonight. He ties the all-time Northwest Racing Series record.
A chance at history. Only Mark Walls has won that many races. It's what, 52, 53? 53. Only Mark Walls has ever visited Victory Lane 53 times in the Northwest Racing Series. Sean Brightsman has a chance to win the 53rd race of his career, tie Mark Walls. By the way, we talked about it just a moment ago. You mentioned that he won the truck race right here at Atlanta. The last time the Cup Series was here at Atlanta, he won that one also. Sean Brightsman, 2 wins at this track this year, riding a lot of momentum in that Toyota. Tonight very well could be the night he ties the all-time record.
Track has actually picked up on temps at 28.833 though in the first lap. This could be a fast one that could put him in the top 5. One thing to also note, by the way, for playoff indicators, on the cars, you'll see the blue banners for West Bay Napa Auto Parts as well as the blue spoilers. All your playoff competitors will have those different parts of their cars on their machines tonight, as well as throughout the rest of the playoffs. Brightsman, this time by the stripe, what will it be? A 29.746. Good enough for P4.
You called it, Justin. Top 5 for Sean Brightsman. 28 cars have taken time. Only 4 remain that have not qualified yet. Casey Garber rolling out on track right now in the number 94 to make it 3. Other cars that have not yet gone are Nathan Clifford and Carl Burke. Toby Ritters has fallen in and out of the session. He is back in now, but problems with the number 23 of Ritters. We'll see if he's able to go out and make it in for this one. However, Casey Garber on track right now will be the 29th car to qualify.
Nathan Clifford and Carl Burke, the only other drivers not to put up time so far. Ritters, of note, has made his way to the pit lane and starting to roll. Minute and a half, though, to get a time in. Just a minute and a half. Casey Garber now on his first lap. It's going to be tight, though, for Ritters.
Ritters trying to get out there. Still no sign of Clifford, who made his first ever Northwest Racing Series start in the truck race on Thursday. Garber is going to be able to get at least 1 lap in. Maybe 2, maybe. I don't know. But Clifford is not. Ritters, that's going to be tight. Garber's coming around. He pushes up the track in turn number 4, and he's going to back it down. He did not like it, so Garber's going to elect to take the wash on the first lap and reset for lap number 2.
He doesn't have enough time for that.
No, he's going to have to take a provisional here. He is not going to make it out.
Ritters, he's going to have maybe only 1 lap, if that, to be able to put up a fast time here. Right now, carrying about 179 miles an hour on corner exit. He's going to need one of the quickest first laps of the day to have good track position. A majority of the field has been in the 29.9s on the first laps. That would be around 19th position on back at the moment on the pylon. The time this time is a 30 flat. That is 22nd.
He gets a lap in, however, not what he was wanting in that number 23. Brightsman's on the race control radio, last call for qualifying as Ritters trying to get around and get that second lap in. I think he might be able to make it. He's in turn 3 now in his Bass Pro Shops Chevy Camaro. Looks like he's going to make it in car number 23. Yes, he will. Let's see if he can jump into the top 20. Yes, he can. 18th.
And Sean Brightsman gave him the time to get that lap in. That moves him up 4 more positions. That means one thing, though. Every car who took a time is done. It's time to get ready to line up for the opening race of the West Bay Napa Auto Parts Playoffs from the virtual Auto Club Motors for the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. With that, let's take a look at your starting grid for tonight's racing action from Hotlanta in Hampton, Georgia. On the pole tonight, it's Dan West Jr. in the number 55. He was one of the quick drivers here in the springtime. He'll start alongside one of the drivers with a lot of momentum in the second half of the regular season, Chris White. Seth Frazier starts in row 2 alongside Sean Brightsman, your defending race winner in this series and your Truck Series winner to begin the playoffs on that side of the bracket. Sean Ottenbacher starts in row 3 alongside Bruce Lee Weaver, with Joshua Marcy and Brett Johnson in row 4. James Thurston with one of his better qualifying run to the season in 9th, and Tyler King rounds out your top 10, Greg.
You're going to find Corey Walters, a playoff driver, in 11th with another playoff driver to his outside. Jeff Stabnow, the 24. He has to be considered one of the favorites for that playoff position and a championship. Watch for him in that number 24. Devin West in the number 5. Missed on the playoffs because he did not run the full season in the number 5. Still looking for that first Cup win. He starts 13th with Ricky Bozier to his outside. Playoff driver B.J. Tidrick win at Darlington. Got him into the playoffs. Rolls off 15th with Scott Hutchinson in 16th. We talked about that big win at Talladega last week for Dan Lowder in a must-win position. He starts in 17th with a playoff spot. Toby Ritter's 18th. Eric Cheney will take a EOL penalty after doing his trademark going out before the track was open for qualifying, so he'll drop to the back after posting the 19th quickest lap. Chris Torres starts 20th.
Nick Bellamy in the 22 machine was one of the drivers seen with a bit of trouble in qualifying, still put up a 23.9 though in 21st. He'll start alongside one of the newcomers tonight in Wayne Rick. Robert Gambill back in the field this evening, 23rd alongside Jeff Hagan. Dylan Kane a 30.4 in 25th alongside Joshua Beal, who starts 26th. Garrett Hopfines, we haven't seen him in a long time. He was fast early in the season. He'll start in 27th alongside Frank Harris. One other driver put up a time. It was a blistering slow time of 1 minute and 2 seconds for Stephen Paulison. Your drivers who did not put in times: Casey Garber, Carl Burke, Nathan Clifford. That's a look at your starting grid for the first race of the West Bay Napa Auto Parts Playoffs. Standing by in the pit lane on the radio with your pole sitter is Wesley Outland.
And I am on radio communications with the driver, Dan West Jr. Dan, real quickly, man, ready for the Napa West Bay Auto Parts Playoffs. What's it going to take to survive Atlanta and advance to the round of 8?
Just about like any other race, just be smooth and stay out of trouble. Pretty excited about this race, so I think we got a pretty good car, and just hopefully we got some at the end.
A lot of hype and optimism. We'll see what he does as he's on the pole. In addition to that, the driver that is looking to try to be the all-time winner of Northwest Racing Competition for the 53rd win, Sean Brightsman. Sean, you won the truck race at Atlanta. Can we see you sweep here at Atlanta for the Cup Series?
Oh, Wes, we're sure as heck gonna try here. We got a lot of tough competitors here in the field tonight for the first race of the West Bay Napa Auto Parts Playoffs. So
it should be very interesting. We'll see what happens as Sean Brightsman again winning round 1 of the playoffs for the Truck Series on Thursday. And now it's time for the playoffs to go for Cup time.
Green flag is out. We're underway from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Dan West Jr. with a great launch. Seth Frazier already up to second. The top line caught sleeping to start.
As they roll off into the backstretch for the first time, Dan West Jr. out to the early lead. Frazier up to second. As you said, Chris White not only got caught sleeping on the start, Justin, he's blinking a little bit. There's possibly some connection issues on the 83 as well.
That could be a concern at a track such as this with the race of this importance. But for Dan West Jr., lap 1 is in the books in his way. Seth Frazier looking to put lap 2 in his way in the books. To the bottom side, able to take away the race lead. Here comes Chris White.
White fighting back in the 83 after a couple blinks. Looks okay for now as Frazier trying to get to the inside in the bright purple 32. But West fighting back on the outside. Remember, early in the season, Frazier looked like the favorite to perhaps make a run for a championship. He said he likes his chances if he makes it to the Final Four, but he's got to start it off here at Atlanta.
Trouble towards the back of the field. KC Garber off the track, loses several positions. He's collecting Garrett Huffines. They crash into the pit lane. No caution flag. It's off the racing surface.
So a couple of drivers.
Oh, and now the caution's out down the back straightaway. Another car around. Believe it might be Robert Gamble and Joshua Beal among the cars tangled up. Yes, it is.
There's Gamble in the 54. Saw Stephen Paulson at slow on the racing surface on the front stretch as well. Taking a look at the swag replay. This is the incident you saw, Justin, between Beal in the 112 and Gamble in the 54.
You'll see it on corner exit is right there. That's go up in the wall. Collects Gamble, who is on the left side of the track out of turn 2. Hard into the wall goes the 54 on the racing surface. And that brings out your first swag yellow flag of the night. KC Garber may have just got bailed out a little bit there with the timing of that caution flag. However, keep in mind there's the chance of an unsafe pit entrance and potential speeding with both of them spinning down. Can see that now on screen. This incident will come out at turn 4.
So it starts right there. One car going for a slide underneath. Didn't catch who that was. That may have been Bellamy in the 22. No, the 165, Dylan Kane was the other one. There's a bobble in front of Garber. Ooh, him and the 27 get together there, which led to that. Now, where did Garrett Huffines come into play in this? Cheney out of the way, gets up there into Paulson. That's what caused him. So Cheney involved as well. Huffines gets involved. I am amazed, Justin, especially with the fact that Cheney and Paulson were on the racing surface. I'm amazed that did not trigger the caution.
So several cars stacking up there. Wesley, you're standing by.
Yeah, a lot of cars on the pit lane, like Sean Brightsman on the quest for that 53rd All-Star Northwest Series win. Devin West, James Thurston, Tyler King trying to get redemption in the truck disaster at Atlanta. He's on the pit lane. Hutchinson, Harris, Carl Burke, all these drivers, 4 tires, making quick adjustments, filling up the tanks, taking advantage of an early swag caution here at Atlanta as it gets hot in the opening go. By the way, Robert Gamble just checked in on him and the crew on the team of the number 54 machine. Not a good way to start the playoffs. Of course, he's not a playoff contender, but badly damaged, hit from both ends of the spectrum on the backstretch from Joshua Beal's car, so he will have to do a fast repair. He done that. He's back out on the racetrack. We'll get ready to go back to green here shortly.
Thank you very much, Wesley. And remember, back in the springtime, this was a tough race with a lot of attrition at times. There were several incidents early on, 8 caution flags as talked about earlier in the broadcast. Do you expect that trend to continue based on series record at this track? Greg?
I would say so. We had a relatively clean race on Thursday, but the Cup race here definitely was a little bit aggressive here for some drivers in this one. So I'm expecting more of the same from this one. Remember, Justin, Brightsman got the win, but it was a 4-horse race and a drag race to the finish in that one in the number 46 for Brightsman. Yeah. Dan West Jr., Jeff Stabnow, and Devin West were all involved in that one.
For reference, Dan West Jr. still in second spot at the moment. Brightsman all the way back in 17th after a poor start to this race. As well of note, Devin West in 18th position among the drivers mentioned there. Expecting the Wendigo signal this time by Seth Frazier, Dan West Jr., Chris White, Josh Marcy, John Ottenbacher, your top 5. Your biggest mover, though, despite all the craziness, the 112 of Beal, believe, did not hit under the caution flag, surprisingly. He stayed out with the demolished race car.
That's a gutsy call by Josh Beal. Remember, you have a fast repair in this series, so Beal saying, you know what, I'm going to roll the dice and see what kind of track position I can hang on to. Maybe if he can catch another early caution here before he loses too much track position, he may elect to stay out there. Honestly, I'm surprised we didn't see more pit stops.
Speaking of which, Wesley, I believe, has an update involving the 112.
You guys got to get out of my head. I mean, seriously, we've got ESP or something. I was literally just checking in on the 112 of Joshua Beal while y'all were talking about it. I come back up here and radio in, and bam, we're talking about the same thing as you guys are. Yeah, he says, I got some damage, but I'm really not going to press the issue yet. It's too early for a fast repair. He got hit on all sides, just like Robert Gamble did from the contact. But right now, he says, I'm going to play possum right now. I'm going to try to wait till probably about 50 laps or so because I got a feeling there's going to be some more cautions. I just have my fingers crossed, hoping virtually I'm not in it. That's the 112 thoughts of Joshua Bill.
Thank you, Wesley. And he has a great point. You lose that fast repair by an early usage of it, you get another incident, you're likely done for the night or racing in a modified to the checker flag. But now, drivers ready to go, doubled up out of turn 4, field and control of Seth Frazier. His purple and black number 32, strong early, so is Dan West Jr. They're your 2 leaders so far, off and away they go.
Frazier coming up through the gears. More issues with the 83 on the restart once again, blinking once again. So that's definitely something we're going to have to keep an eye on.
Big one in the back of the field. Whole field is crashed. Tyler King, James Thurston, Devin West, all crashed. Dylan King taking responsibility as he collects everyone who just pit.
Tyler King involved. I believe I saw Chris Torres there in the 99. Let's take a look at the swag replay to see what happened here. Again, Dylan Kane saying, hey, that was on me. Oh.
He was against the wall there.
He was against the wall and it just turned left on him. Right down in front of, I believe that was Devin West in the 5. Again, aerial coverage brought to you by All American Pools, but I'm going to have to see another look at that to see what in the world happened here with the the 165 of Dylan Kane. I was going to say 777 because that's his real life racing number, but man, up against the wall. Oh, he just clipped the wall right there.
Yeah,
just clipped the wall.
That wasn't even tire spin. He just drove it into the fence. A bizarre one there, collects at least 7-8 cars. We're not even 10 laps in, a massive mistake from the newcomer in the 165 to bring out our second swag yellow flag of the evening. I don't think we were expecting that in our note cards of how this race could go.
Definitely not. I don't think anyone expected this to be the start of the race. You mentioned it, 8 cautions in the last one. We're already at 2.
Wesley, you're standing by.
I am. Dylan Kane, Wesley, LSR TV, CRN. What's your take of what happened on the restart? Definitely a victim of circumstance there on that car.
Yeah, I spun the tires coming to the restart there and got into one of the other guys there. So that was 100% my fault.
How badly damaged is your car after having the start of the accident be you the culprit?
Yeah, kind of scrubbing tires a little bit. Feels like the front end's a little bit pinned up, but we're just gonna run it until we get another caution that I don't create and go from there.
Well, there you go, guys. Again, Dylan Kane saying, hey, I raised my paw. It's my fault. I'll take the blame. Tyler King with damage on the pit lane, getting repairs done. So is Toby Ritter. Eric Cheney. We'll see what Big Bird's got up his sleeve in the early going at Atlanta. Plus also Torres. Gamble Paulison from damage earlier. James Thurston, what a run he had to possibly win the truck race at Atlanta, open their playoffs last Thursday night. All of these drivers now beaten, battered, and bruised, and now trying to get bandaged here in the early going. Justin, Greg, welcome to the playoffs.
We've already seen a couple interesting twists, but take a quick step aside. You're watching LSR TV and listening in on CRN Sports for coverage of the Northwest Cup Series for the start of the West Bay Napa Auto Parts playoffs from Atlanta.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
Welcome back to tonight's coverage of the Northwest Cup Series. The start of the West Bay Napa Auto Parts playoffs here on LSR TV and CRN Sports. Justin Prince, Greg Rentz, Wesley Outland with you, Charles Wooden in the director's seat for tonight's action. Let's remind you once again, playoffs presented by West Bay Napa Auto Parts based out of Silverdale, Washington. You can find them in person for curbside pickup at 9331 Silverdale Way, Northwest. They open at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. If you're interested or want to find out more information, be sure to call them tonight, or in the morning rather, at 360-692-2924. Want to go signal this time by Seth Frazier in the race lead, Dan West Jr. in second, Marcy White, Bruce Wee Weaver, Brett Johnson, John Ottenbacher, Corey Walters, Bozier and Stabnow, your current top 10 at the moment. Already 2 caution flags in the first 12 laps of this one, Greg.
So Frazier out to the early lead in that number 32. West in second. Marcy, White, Weaver, your top 5. Remember, West led the first couple laps, but once Frazier was able to get by, he's been able to click laps away up front because, Justin, every time we've gone green, we've gone yellow real quick. Frazier's been up front for pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, he's led a majority of the laps so far. Dan West Jr. led the opening lap. Of note, Devin West, end of longest line penalty given to him under this caution flag as everyone else gets ready for this restart. Great launches early on, but eventually the tire spin's going to have to factor in, you'd have to think.
Yeah, the tires are going to get worn out. I'm honestly surprised we still have yet to see some of our leaders on road. Yes, we've only got a few laps of green flag racing on these tires, but with how abrasive this track surface is, it can get a lot more here throughout the course of the race as the green flag back out.
Good launch by everybody in the field. Again, no tire set limit for this series, so drivers can take the opportunity to take tires if they elect to do so under some of these caution flag periods. 2 short runs, though, early. Marcy, though, with a great launch off the restart. Already fighting for second at the bottom of the racetrack into 3.
Marcy to the inside. Remember, he was so close at Canadian Tire to getting that win. Since then, has had not the best of luck. Looks to be handling it pretty well right now in the 35.
Dan West Jr. better run, though, on the high side. Clears on by for second. And a clean restart for these drivers. Keep in mind, 16th on back has already had to pit for damage repairs or for different tire cycles in this race. Bruce Wee Weaver is already up to 4th as well. Your fastest lap of the race is set by the car in 6th, John Ottenbacher, so far.
A lot of speed in the pink Buzz RTV Camaro here for the month of October. Of course, many drivers repping pink this month in some shape or capacity, where with Breast Cancer Awareness Month going on. Ottenbacher, of course, embracing it as he is a very, very pink Chevy Camaro. Battle for the lead.
And it's an Air Pink Camaro, in fact. And Dan West Jr., he's sporting those colors tonight. He's got the run on the high side. Got about momentum there, along with Chris White battling for 4th behind them. And the top line can be crucial early on in this race with some of the momentum, but eventually that line's going to dissipate, likely with the tires.
Yeah, the tire wear, more and more we get it here at Atlanta, it's going to cause these cars to start slipping around as you see the outside lane beginning to come in more and more, as now Weaver trying it on the outside to try to get around Chris White, and Frazier going to fall in line behind West. Marcy now going back to the inside of Frazier looking for second. Marcy couldn't get the pass on West. Now he's looking for second on Frazier. Can he get it this time?
So Dan West Jr. now with the cleaner air at this point. Joshua Marcy trying to use the bottom line. The squeeze trying to be given by the 32. Some good amount of momentum carried, though, by your front runners so far. Fairly consistent. Ricky Bozier, by the way, +7, is joining this fight behind John Ottenbacher. Those cars are all grouped up along with Walters and Brett Johnson in the lead group.
Quiet run so far, Bozier in the number 42 as he has worked his way up 7 spots. Justin, he's something we don't usually get to talk about here in the Northwest Cup Series, but he's having a very nice run early in the number 42, going after one of our playoff drivers here in John Ottenbacher. Playoff drivers currently making up 1st, 3rd, 4th, and 6th right now here in the top 10. Then the next one you find are Dan Lowther and Jeff Stabnow. Stabnow ahead of Lowther as he's now going after Brett Johnson, another driver who we haven't seen in a little while.
Yes, indeed. Car in the pit lane, by the way, Stephen Paulison with a bit of trouble. More trouble, though. It's Toby Ritters. The 23 brings out the 3rd swag yellow flag of the night, and he's already off in the grass. That was at the back of the field. Carl Burke had just had an issue in that same section you'll see in the replay. And
Devin West has put it behind the wall, loaded it up on the truck. He's done for the night as well in the number 5. You're taking a look at the swag replay to see what happened. Toby Ritters, Carl Burke and company back here.
Carl Burke was that car on the apron, but it's the 27 involved in a second caution flag.
Second time the 27 has been in an incident here tonight, getting up into Toby Ritter's. It has not been a good couple of weeks for the 27 of Jeff Hagan.
It's not been a good couple of months, really, when you think about it. He's already checking up for Carl Burke, who's electing to go to the back after some of the craziness, 2-3 wide to the back, and then he slides up and pushes up the track. Back under yellow once again, and that will bring everybody down the pit lane, Wesley, for more service.
Yeah, here they come. The cavalry is on pit lane, and pretty much for the most part, everybody, as you said, coming down and got a pretty good amount of 20 laps under the belt now. Dan West Jr. up at the pit stall in front of me is going to be Sean Brightsman. Couple of cars already rolling off the pit lane as we speak. Marcy, Dan West Jr. Marcy gets off first. Then it's West Jr., Seth Frazier, Bruce Lee Weaver, Chris White, Brightsman. All these drivers exiting off the pit lane here. And one of the things we talked about earlier tonight in the Ezra Cup Series race, Greg, the blend line at Pocono was down the front straightaway, where literally you go past the start, go past the cone, and you're right back on the racetrack. Here, the blend line, you have to work, Justin, all the way around turns number 1 and 2. Once you pass that blue cone, if there's anybody watching saying, what's that cone on the racetrack for? That's that blend line. And Justin, I think you can be able to elaborate more into that as more drivers in the back a lap down or more are pitting.
Yes, that's a great thing to bring up, Wesley. Thank you. And the one thing to mention with that, of course, is brought in part because it helps dictate what drivers have to do in real life, because there's a certain policy for many tracks where you enter at a certain part of the track. It's iRacing's response to that, essentially, where before drivers would pull right back on the racetrack, could cause trouble. Now, they must follow real-world-like procedures where they have to stay below the apron line all the way to the blue cone, then they can pull up on the racetrack. You pull up too early, even by a quarter of a car, you're getting a black flag and have to come back down for an unsafe pit exit on the racetrack. You could also, by the way, go underneath the cone if you need to dodge somebody, or say at Phoenix, take the dog leg for reference sake. But the main thing is you essentially have to exit down the back straightaway to be able to exit the pit lane properly here, which can be critical for some time that could be lost once we get a green flag pit stop window here at a track such as Atlanta here, Greg. Of note, by the way, with the Pocono part, it used to be on the exit of turn 1, but they had to put it to right into the corner just about after several drivers clipped the apron line and were given black flags prior to its adjustment.
Well, fortunately for us in the Ezra race, we did not have a single caution in that race. So the blend line did not really play as much as it normally would, because the only time we had cars on pit road was for green flag pit stops. And again, like you mentioned, on the front stretch, really nowhere for blend line to come into play. But we did talk that could play a factor for some people if they mistimed it and came up right in front of somebody. But it fortunately did not happen. Different story here at Atlanta.
We have a problem on the front stretch. One to go signal, but the problem is Ricky Bozier is stopped at the start and finish line. The 42 has put his car on the tow truck. He is
Something
now
happened
off
to the
track.
42.
John Onenbacher also came down a second time for pit stops before coming to one to go. Believe that Ricky Bozier
Wesley
has a
Allen
technical
on his
issue.
way down to the camp.
Yeah, believe he may have a problem.
Sounds like exactly. Sounds like a technical issue on that number 42. As it just came to a stop immediately with the crew, but Justin, have to imagine that's a technical.
That could be costly for the standings, to say the very least, for the 42 machine. Obviously realized something was happening before they took the green flag. No cars will get the black flag since he put the tow truck in time, but it's Joshua Marcy off and away with a green flag. Dan West Jr. on the outside.
Justin, dreaded problems on Ricky Bozier. The engine woes, connection issues. He's out.
Massive, massive issue. He is still having that issue right now. That's going to cost him at least several laps. Once again, to touch upon once again, The blue cars you see on the pylon are your playoff drivers. They will turn yellow if they win a race to lock themselves in to the next round in this one. Marcy now getting crossed over by Seth Frazier for the race lead. It'll be Marcy at the stripe leading, but Seth Frazier to the race point. So a good launch for Joshua Marcy off the gun, but the momentum picking up. Dan West Jr. contact. He's hitting the wall down the backstretch. Swag yellow flag not out yet as he smacks the inside wall. Several cars dart him. No yellow flag as the 55 of Dan West Jr. hard into the fence.
He he stayed off the racing surface pin, which is why we stay green. That is going to be massively costly 5 of West Jr. because now he's at the tail end of the field, all the way back around 30th position. And Justin, that's big because West Jr. playoff driver leading the way in the early going. Suddenly, he's now at the tail end of the field, under green and in desperate need of a fast repair.
Yeah, that is absolutely huge if West Jr. can't get a caution flagging quickly here. He's already lost 22 seconds to your race leaders, and that's broken up the pack because everyone had to slam on the brakes. Frazier and Marcy are now 2 seconds ahead of everybody else.
Bruce Lee Weber in 4th place right now. Chris White is about a second ahead of the rest of the pack there in the 3rd spot. Weber, Lowther, Breitzman, Walters all in this pack from 4th on to 7th. That's your next group behind the leaders, Frazier and Marcy, not counting White all by himself.
Of note, Tower King just fed the door, just lost several positions on the high side in 3 and 4. But they've already closed up the gap just about by about a few tenths for the main group. Chris White by about 3 tenths. And that's the main thing. On the short run, it's so difficult to break away in Atlanta. The long run, you can do it.
Of note, Ricky Blizzard talking about that technical issues he was having. He has climbed back into the 42 car. He did have connection issues, which is what happened. He's 4 laps down, make it 5, but he is climbing back in the car to try to make it back out. We'll see if we get the 42 back out on track. Meanwhile, up front, Frazier, Marcy pulling away, but Chris White is closing in the back. He shaved half a second off behind him. Corey Walters goes for a big slide in the Napa 9.
He nearly hit the back end of a couple cars. Have to say, Walters taking the Napa Auto Parts theme very much seriously. The downside is losing some time. Remember, started off the season with a victory at Daytona.
Started the season off at Daytona in the usual Hooters number 9 car. Wesley, you've got an update, I believe, maybe on the 32, but before you get that, this is the 2nd race in a row we've seen a Napa 9 car here on LSR TV tonight.
Yeah, and also in addition to that, I got an update on the 55 of Dan West Jr. as well. I'll find out something on Seth Frazier here in a minute, but Dan West Jr. Just checked in with him and the crew. Damaged also from the accident. Not badly damaged, but obviously he's not as slow. He's not as fast as he wants to be. He's definitely off the pace. He said, Wesley, I'm going to wait for another caution. I got a feeling another one's brewing soon. And then when I come down to the pit lane, I will take on that fast repair and get back out there.
Thank you, Wesley. In fact, he's just about to be lapped right now by your race leaders. The pack is now 3 cars thick for the lead, by the way, as Chris White has reeled them in. Dan West Jr. taking a bit of a later move, but up to the high side. Well-respected move right there. That will put him in the lucky dog spot for the time being. He is the only car, that's the bright side, Greg, who is 1 lap down.
West Jr. 1 lap down in the lucky dog position for the time being. 2 drivers are officially out of the race, that being Devin West in the 5 and Robert Gamble in the number 54. Actually, Gamble has not officially put it on the trailer yet, but he is just sitting on pit road 21 laps down in that number 54. Paulison, Bozer, Hutchinson, all 7 laps down right now. Hutchinson's been off and on pit road quite a few times in the champion Sparks Plugs Ford as Frazier continues to lead the way about a 10th over Josh Marcy. But look out because here comes Chris White in that number 83.
He's within about a second or so. Have to say, when it comes to Dan Lowther, who's now on your screen, by the way, emotional win at Talladega. Showed great improvement the final couple weeks, and now he's up to P4. By the way, Wesley standing by in the pit lane with that update you asked for about Seth Frazier.
Yeah, just checked in on the crew with the 32 of Seth Frazier. No problems on the car, no damage on the car. Right now, he's just saving tires.
That's going to be the key thing.
Yeah, that may be why Chris White's able to close in so quickly right now. Frazier is saving tires in that 32, not going for it all out. What that's doing with Marcy just kind of pinning behind him, Marcy's thinking the same thing, whether it's by choice or not. He's saving tires as well, not pushing the envelope on Frazier. That could be what's allowing White to close in so quick. White's probably running all out right now, trying to use up as much as he can to catch up to him, while Frazier and Marcy, they're saving it a little bit here.
And people may be wondering, why not go full throttle? It's faster, but here's the thing. You burn up the tires, and Dan West Jr. just got his caution. The downside is it's his teammate, John Ottenbacher, one of the Team LSR TV cars, in trouble in 1 and 2 for another swag yellow.
Boy, the pink 89 Camaro having some issues. So someone in the wall up front of them. Who was that caught the wall? Was that the 106?
Dylan Kane.
Dylan Kane. Oh, in the wall, right in front of Ottenbacher. Chris Torres getting through, Eric Cheney getting through, Ottenbacher getting the worst of that.
I think that's the second time again, yes, that Dylan Kane has just drove it into the fence in the quad oval. You have to wonder, does he have the proper settings visually to be able to see where the wall is? If you don't have your FOV settings set properly, you can misjudge where the wall is. It's also easy to do on corner entry. That's the second time he's drifted up by at least a car length into the fence.
Well, Justin, he just got back into the iRacing sim not too long ago. Actually, it was just this past weekend on Sunday night. He's got some time to himself here for the next couple of weeks. So he was just like, you know what? I'm just going to get back into the iRacing thing. We've climbed into a late model race at USA, getting kind of a practice race in for the Northwest Tour opener, which is coming up a week from Sunday. We went in, did a practice race at USA, and Dylan did mention that he had to reconfigure all of his settings, so they still might not be exactly where he wants it.
It's going to take some time for that, but Wesley, it's pit stop time.
Yeah, and by the way, Chris White overshot his pit stall, had to back up, lost valuable time. Seth Frazier, remember the guy we talked about saving tires? He just put on a brand new 4 sides of rubber, filled up the tank. He'll exit off the pit lane first in that number 32 entry, followed by Joshua Marcy. And of course, Dan Lowther, the winner at Talladega, to advance into the Napa West Bay Auto Parts playoffs for the series. He gets a good run up, 14 spots off the pit lane. And then we mentioned also the driver, Dan West Jr. He's going to do a full master reset, fast repair, get back out there. Also, we're going to check on Dylan Kane and John Ottenbacher to see how badly damaged those cars are. In the opening 30 laps, it's been a caution flag fiesta at Hot Atlanta.
Well, we didn't say the track would be hot, but the tempers could be. At a track such as Atlanta, of course, a lot of history. When you think back at the circuit, though, whether it's been on iRacing or in real life, been open since 1960. This track hosted championship finales for much of its history, has now also made its way back onto the schedule for 2 dates for 2021 for the Cup Series in real life.
I'm excited for that, Justin. Atlanta has historically been such a historic venue. I know that sounded weird, but Atlanta has historically been one of the premier venues of NASCAR. Wesley, you and I talked about it a little bit last night in the Adrenaline iRacing Championships. For years, this facility hosted the finale of the series for the NASCAR Winston Cup back in the days, before it moved on to Homestead and now, of course, Phoenix, Arizona. So this track, a lot of significance. Awesome to see it having 2 dates next year.
It's been an entertaining race, to say the very least, though, despite all the craziness. The front of the field, though, has had a lot of comers and goers. Dan Lowther, one of your biggest comers now. Plus 14, your second biggest mover in the field, is up towards the front. But some of the drivers towards the back, going to have to recover, Wesley.
Yeah, you're exactly right. John Ottenbacher, it's going to be a fast repair for him after the accident involving there with Dylan Kane. And Dylan Kane, a newbie here on the Northwest iRacing Cup Series, right in the threshold of the opening race for the round of 12 in this event for the Napa West Bay Auto Parts playoffs. And he said point blank 2 times, it's 100% my fault. He apologized adamantly to John Ottenbacher Ottenbacher, as well as from the previous accident as well. And by the way, he is also taking a fast repair too. So both drivers, John Ottenbacher and now Dylan Kane, fast repairs to try to get back out there and salvage a decent finish at Atlanta.
Thank you very much, Wesley. And by the way, it's a third best plus positive ratio for Dan West Jr. plus 14. Plus 18 is Garber. Biggest mover is Nathan Clifford, who is up in the top 10, shockingly enough.
And he's making his Cup Series debut, Justin, in that number 95. Having a fantastic effort right now in 10th place right now. He's going to start alongside BJ Tidderick. Tidderick having a quiet night, but he's up 6 spots in at number 72. Watch for him as well in the Winston Ford up here. He's a playoff driver, got that upset win at Darlington, and that win at Darlington was a huge boost for him moving forward.
96 laps to go. It's been a wild one. Will the wildness continue? We'll wait and see. Seth Frazier on the gas. Jeff Stabnell checks out the back part of the field. Massive damage potentially to BJ Tidderick, but everyone else off and away clean.
How about Lauder up in the second spot for Northwest Thunder? Frazier trying to hold off Dan Lauder. You'll see both these drivers in action in the Northwest Tour starting next week in the big opener at USA International. We talked about that, more on that at the next caution. Look at Marcy in the 35 going to the inside now of Dan Lauder. Corey Walters there as well. Marcy's going to get second spot back very easily here in that number 35. Walters coming as well, so a lot of speed with the 35 of Marcy here in the early stages. Just got to try to figure a way out around that 32 of Frazier.
And make sure you save the tires, because one of the points was going to bring up before that caution flag was, yes, normally you're faster, of course, going full out around the racetrack, but you kill the tires by doing that. Drivers have found, on iRacing in particular, you go, say, half throttle in the first 10, 15 laps of the run, save the tires, if not even lift off the gas entirely, you're good to go for the rest of the run and you have a ton of long run speed. It's about finding that balance, as we've seen Greg.
Finding the balance and just trying to make it work to where you're in a consistent groove. Finding the balance is one thing, but being able to do it lap in and lap out, that's an entirely different animal, especially at Atlanta. Swag yellow flag again.
Another swag yellow flag, and it's the very back of the field. Scott Hutchinson and several others collected.
Did I see John Ottenbacher?
I believe we may have seen him around that. Yes, indeed. John Ottenbacher was in it.
Pink 89 involved in an accident. Seen that before. Love you, sister. But we'll see what happens here with Ottenbacher. Oh, that's in front of him, and he had nowhere to go.
That is Jeff Hagan making contact with Huffines. He was way all over the track, though, Hagan. He went from the top to the bottom, snapping loose that entire corner into Huffines' door and right into the middle of the racetrack.
Nowhere to go. Man, that was a violent hit, too. Did you see how hard he hit the wall? Watch again here on the swag replay. Coming up on the outside of Thurston, getting up in the marbles, gets in the Huffines, and bam!
That also collects, by the way, in the backdrop, you see Toby Ritter's also modified. Paulison in the aftermath also collected. He was the last car running on track before that. Even more damage brought to several playoff contenders. It's been not a pretty one for your playoff drivers. Wesley, you've been very busy tonight.
So busy he didn't even hear us.
Yeah. 16th on back pit, by the way. James Thurston, Chris Torres, Jeff Hagan, Wayne Rick, Dan West Jr., Eric Cheney, John Ottenbacher and company, all coming down this caution flag. Take this chance to step aside. You're listening and watching tonight's coverage of the Northwest Cup Series from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway for the first race of the West Bay Napa Auto Parts Playoffs. You're listening and watching on MSR TV and CRN Sports. Welcome back to tonight's coverage of the Northwest Cup Series on LSR TV and CRN Sports. For the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway, coming up to 91 laps to go. Justin Prince alongside Greg Rentz, Wesley Upland in the pits this evening, Charles Wooden in the director's seat. It's been a rough one if you're a playoff driver. Paulison, Bozier, and several other contenders have had at least one crash, at least one technical issue, or have at least used their fast repair in this one, Greg. It's been an attrition fest for half the playoff grid.
And for the half of the playoffs that are not involved in an incident just yet, yes, that's going to be big because that can give an advantage. But how much are you thinking that in the back of your head? Am I next? Am I the next playoff driver to get in trouble?
Among the drivers who have kept their cars the cleanest, Seth Frazier, Josh Marcy, Chris White were in the playoffs. Corey Walters has been very good in the second pack and fourth. Dan Lowther's been also a top 5 car since he's clawed his way up. And don't forget Sean Brightsman and Jeff Stabnow have quietly been 6 and 7 with BJ Tidrick. Top 8 all playoff drivers so far in this one. But as mentioned, John Ottenbacher, Carl Burke, Stephen Paulison among the many drivers with some attrition. Ricky Bozier also with some problems tonight. Wesley, you're standing by.
I am. I actually have Steve Paulison, and, we were just talking about that as well. Steve, a pretty dismal race so far here in the 58 machine. Talk about how badly damaged the car is right now.
Oh, the first time when I got run over during a wreck, it was like 7 minutes of repairs, and I went in there and made a mistake, didn't hit my quick repair, so I got stuck. Took that, and then this one again, I got somewhat wiped out while I was avoiding hitting others, and only has a few minutes, but now I'm kind of like a modified, so my suspicion is it'll blow up eventually.
Why do you think we're seeing such craziness like this here in the early going for the playoff round one?
Oh, the car is really loose, so I went into practice, the early practice, everybody was spinning, so I started in the back, and even when I only had 2 cars behind me, I got run over when there was a wreck ahead of us, and it was called out. So I don't know. It's just nobody's able to control the car, especially in the corners. It gets really loose.
Gotcha. Well, we'll hang in there. That's Stephen Paulison. And by the way, Justin Gregg, he mentioned modifieds. And don't forget, coming soon on Saturday night's part of the Swag Winter Heat Series, modifieds will be in action, but his car don't want to be a modified right now.
Maybe he can file an entry.
I don't think anyone wants to have a modified. Thank you very much. Off and away, 89 laps to go. Several modifieds, by the way, are in that class tonight with the way things are trending. Great launch for Frazier. Greg, everyone else happy.
Everyone's settling down. Hey, maybe some of these can file an entry for that new Winter Heat Series presented by Ryco Motorsports here on LSR TV. That starts up here pretty quick on Saturday night. So some short track coming your way on weekends here on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. And, of course, our new partner, CRN Sports Radio, the voice of sim racing.
Looking on screen, meanwhile, on the LSR TV side, Corey Walters with a big block on Brightsman on the top side. Checked him up. Dan Lowther not able to take advantage in turn 1 and 2. This has been an impressive race for Walters. One of the best races we've seen for his Napa car. And in a while, one car, though, spinning hard in the backstretch. It's Joshua Beal.
I was going to say, that looks like Beal. And remember, he had tried to avoid using that fast repair because this is exactly what he was afraid of, getting caught up in another incident later in the race. Not sure if he had used the fast repair yet or not, but this was the biggest fear Beal had right here.
Everyone getting swag yellow flags tonight. Taking a look at the swag replay. And another instance of a car getting loose on corner exit.
Who was that who just really squeaked through there? Was that Ottenbacher in that pink car? Or was that West, or was that both of them? There are 2 pink cars right there that just barely squeaked through. No, there's Ottenbacher in the 89. That may have been Stabnow, the other pink car I saw there.
If not Dan West Jr. No, I believe actually it was Nathan Clifford.
Let's take one more look at it. Yeah, West Jr.'s back there still. Well, there's Clifford right next to him.
There's Clifford's pink car.
On board with him, yep.
Bye-bye.
Nice save.
So, significant damage again. A rough debut for the 112. Taking a look now, this is from Jeff Hagan.
Swag on board with Jeff Hagan deep in the field. Now the good news for here, Justin, is when you're this far back of it, you can see it with plenty of time to react. You can get it wound down, back it down, go low, and whew, even with all that time, he just barely made it through.
So able to survive that one. There was a mixed pit call, by the way, under this way yellow flag. 9th on back. Left to pit, Corey Walters, Sean Brightsman, Bruce Wee Weaver, Brett Johnson, Jeff Stabnell among the drivers who came down for service there, Wesley. They're off and away.
Yeah, quick work there being done by drivers inside the top 10, staying out for the most part. Everyone else, again, coming down to the pit lane for service and work. And, again, watching Bruce Lee Weaver and Jeff Stabnell, but all these drivers trying to continue to avoid the chaos that has been here at Atlanta. Greg, I think we jinxed ourselves. We had the race for the Ezra Cup Series go, for the Pro Series go caution-free at Pocono, and now it has just been yellow flag field. So definitely the Shark Billy and Rhonda Smith of Swag E-Wraps and Graphics getting their business definitely promoted here in fine fashion. Joshua Beal, the driver you just mentioned in the 112, just reached out to him. We're going to try to grab a word with him to find out his take of the accident in just a moment.
Thank you, Wesley. Curious to hear that viewpoint. Another rough incident for him in this one. Of note, by the way, 2 tires for Weaver and Thurston under this caution flag. At this mark, Greg, how do you even plan this race out? Because we've mentioned a lot of attrition. It's hard to plan out how you even plot out how to pit when this gets this crazy.
You really just gotta hope for the best here and just keep hoping for more and more cautions. If you're in a position like, say, Dan Lowther or BJ Tidrick back there 4th and 5th, the more and more cautions click away, the more and more laps click away, hey, you've got some good track position towards a good run at the end of the race.
The driver who has visited his pit crew a 3rd time with this caution flag in the incident is Joshua Beal. He's standing by with Wesley Outland.
Yeah, I just checked in with the crew and able to grab the in-car audio with Joshua Beal. Joshua, I know we talked a couple of times off air on the pit lane, but man, you're having some bad luck out here. How badly damaged is the 112, and did you finally get for that fast repair?
Oh yeah, I used a fast repair last time out. I don't know, the front's probably a little tore up, but I fixed quite a bit of it with staying in the pit for a little while. So I'm gonna head back through there and try and finish the rest of it off and see if I can't spin out on my own this time.
Being a driver that does not run full-time with the Northwest Cup Series, and then you've got the Napa West Bay Auto Parts playoffs among you as well, what is the psyche as you're going around with these guys virtually?
They're just all a good group of drivers. I usually hop in here, every time I get a chance to, but I haven't for a while, so it's been a lot of fun.
All right, there's the thoughts of Josh Beal. So, Greg, Justin, to answer your question, fast repair, done. Car, damaged. Have to survive. He's going to try that here as we approach halfway at Atlanta.
Thank you, Wesley. Want to go signal, by the way. Frazier, Marcy, White, Lowther, BJ Tidrick, Dan West Jr., Nathan Clifford, Walters, Hagan, along with Weaver among your top 10 drivers on this restart. By the way, for Beal, it's his 3rd start of the season. It has not been a pretty 2 races before of note. He led 3 laps at Las Vegas, finished 21st after 19 incident limit points. Rockingham finished 21st. Well, he made it 115 laps before he got disqualified with 26 of them. Your incident limit, 24. Not been a pretty first 3 races for the 112 in his career in the Northwest Cup Series. Off and away goes Frazier. He's been having a great year.
He has been doing a fantastic job on these restarts as well. Shout to Josh Marcy in second. Every restart he's been able to hang with Frazier until this one, though, because look how Chris White was able to get to the inside. We've seen this quite a few times as well, Justin. The inside second row is able to time it with the leader. If the guy on the outside front row doesn't get going right away, the guy in third is able to get around him and get a spot. We just saw it with Chris White.
And on top of that, the mixed strategy is going to potentially shake things up. Dan West Jr. pit the caution before the last one. He's up to 4th after a good launch. Corey Walters, the first driver on the freshest tires. He's already up inside the top 6. So some of the fresher rubber's coming. So is the driver who's been really pushing hard this entire day, Chris White, for the race lead for the first time.
White trying to get the lead. Remember, Frazier got the lead around, what was it, lap 5 or 6, has not looked back since here in the 32. Meanwhile, look who is back up to third. Dan West Jr., fast repair used, got pinned a lap down at one point. He's back up to third, Justin.
Turns 1 and 2, Seth Frazier has been willing to pinch down to hold up the momentum of the cars on the bottom side. Dan West Jr. with the fresher rubber, watching on the top. Looking like the top line starting to grip up again to be able to pinch down for the next little bit here.
Frazier on the outside. He's the lone wolf on the outside, though. Look at that behind him. Everybody on the inside there. There was Dylan Kane coming down pit road in the 165. But look at West trying to go up. Now give Frazier a little bit of help for the time being. Now Frazier finally may have some help if Dan Lowther can get up there to him. But no, Lowther's actually going to wind up losing a spot to Walters. Here comes Tidrick inside as well.
And Tidrick did not pit under the caution flag. He's having to hold off Sean Brightsman, who did come down. Corey Walters, final clear by them in 5th. So some of the different strategies are now coming into play, and this is a gamble by some cars hoping for a longer run here. You'd have to think, Greg. Track position could be key for some of these competitors for points.
Speaking of track position, strategy, look who else is in this battle. I'll give you a clue. He's looking to tie the all-time record for wins in Northwest Racing Series. Sean Brightsman just drove past Dan Lowther and BJ Tidrick in one turn there.
That's in the backdrop, side by side still for second. West Jr. and Chris White. Brightsman already up to P6 for reference sake in the white and pink machine in turns 1 and 2. Again, 52 career wins. He'll have to check up. Chris White nearly got into the back end of Dan West Jr. Forced to check up, loses a couple spots.
That allows Frazier to clear and get the lead back for the moment in the 32. Ooh, Walters pushes up the track big time there in that number 9 car. Brightsman had to check up, and Chris White got lucky he didn't come up just a little bit more.
Battle for the race lead. Dan West Jr. on the bottom in turn 1 and 2. Frazier loses that grip. And the fresher tires of Dan West Jr. now back up to the point. First lap since the opening lap of the race, Corey Walters visits the inside wall. No caution, demolished car for Corey Walters.
Tough break, but we saw the handling was going away on that number 9. Can't say I'm surprised. Remember, it was just a moment ago. He pushed way up the track. That car was not handling to his liking here in that number 9 car. And we see it once again, another playoff driver having some issues here.
And it was a great race from prior to that. A top 5 car all night goes for naught now with the trouble. The top 5 is still grouped together, but Brightsman saying hello. He's got 3 drivers on older tires in front, then Dan West Jr. to try and tackle who's on a little bit older tires than what he has.
Knock, knock. Here comes Brightsman. He's up to third at the line as he gets around both Marcy and White. Going after Setzer. Sean Brightsman, the winner. Back here in the spring to the inside of Frazier for second. We know he's not afraid to try some strategy if it falls his way. He's going for second now in the number 46, going after Frazier, who's led most of the opening laps of this one. I believe Wesley has an update on him.
Hey, and by the way, Justin, Greg, he won on Thursday night. He won the opening round of the Napa West Bay Auto Parts Playoff for the Truck Series right here in Atlanta. And he has had many, many times of also doing sweeps in the Cup, in the trucks, and vice versa. We can see the same thing here happen tonight. He could be the number 1 seed right out of round 1.
Absolutely. Keep an eye, by the way, on Marcy and Chris White on screen on the LSR TV side of things. Chris White, we talked about him potentially pushing too hard early in runs. He's feeling the effects of that now. BJ Tidrick passing him on the high side down the front stretch. Jeff Stabnow now passing him on the bottom in 1 and 2.
Brett Johnson able to get around Dan Lowther, who got stuck behind White there in the number 83. Ooh, Stabnow with a big slide off of turn number 2, which allows White to get back around, and Brett Johnson going back to the outside of Stabnow. That was a big slide there for Stabnow, but he's able to get gathered back up. The big loser in all that is Dan Lowther, because he was right behind BJ Tidrick. He got pinned behind the 83. Now he's shuffled all the way at the back.
Knock, knock once again. Sean Brightsman's on the doorstep of Dan West Jr. for the race lead up in front of these cars by about 2 seconds. Brightsman to the inside down the backstretch. Looking for his first lead laps of the race. Takes the lead away in turn 3 and 4. West Jr. gives him the space.
Brightsman to the lead, but here comes Tidrick in the 72. While we're watching Brightsman's charge to the field, BJ Tidrick has gotten the 4th now in the 72 Winston Mustang.
And Chris White's also lost the bottom of the racetrack now again to Stabnow and company. Here's the one driver we haven't talked about much. Your overall biggest mover now is KC Garber. Plus 20. He just floored it to the back end of the top 10 group.
Where did he come from in the 94? He started 30th. Remember, he was one of those drivers who did not take a qualifying time. He tried it, but did not like how it felt off of turn number 4. Backed it down. Did not have enough time to go out and give it another shot. Had to start 30th. He has cracked the top 10. Another driver who has quietly made his way up, Tyler King in the 44. How about Frank Harris? He's also up 16 spots now in the number 11. He's gone from 28th to 12th.
He's your highest up best of the rest drivers, presented by LSR TV in the field tonight. Garber pushing up right above Lowther at the moment. And this pack is starting to compress a little bit because keep in mind, everybody towards the back took fresher tires. The older tires, they have fallen off a cliff. Frazier is already dropping back in quickly to everybody inside the top 10 behind him, who were about 2 seconds behind before.
Justin, this brings up a question now. With these drivers on differing tires, here's a question I have for you. At what point do these tires plateau? Do they reach that absolute point of no return and they all even out no matter how many laps they have on them?
Here's the tough part to that question though, Greg. This track is a cheese grater, as you talked about. This is the biggest tire fall off track on the circuit. In other words, there's a chance that these car tires may not plateau based on some of the experiences drivers had in the spring. KC Garber experiences the apron, nearly snaps it in front of Dan Lowther. He saves it in turn 3.
He had gained another spot up in the 9th. Now he loses 2 spots to fall back to 11th. James Thurston has gotten back around Frank Harris in the number 2. Also starting the new pink look here on the number 2 Camaro. And Justin, speaking of Thurston, he doesn't make a lot of starts in this series, but when he does, he always seems to be there at the end.
His 8th start of the season, and he was there at Talladega. Had a strong chance, in fact, of coming away with a race win. Finished P4. It was talked about during the post-race interviews how some of the teammates were excited after the win for Dan Lowther. Lowther, though, speaking of the devil, is all over the racetrack. He's lost grip all of a sudden.
He was stuck 3 wide middle. He was side by side with Josh Marcy. Tyler King went to the inside, got a big run
and
off
he just
turn number
put Frank
2.
Harris in the wall. Frank Harris, hard to contact.
Harris able to keep it going in the 11. We stay green for the time being. He's still fighting that 11 car. But a lot of damage on Harris. He was up 16 positions, and now all of a sudden, he's just lost a bunch of ground right back.
That is the antithesis of Frank Harris's season. Every time he's got a good car, every time he's got pace, he ends up getting collected by the first incident around him. He's got terrible bad luck. It's like he smashed 1,700 broken mirrors and broke them even more so, and then got all the bad luck from the broken mirrors from before, and then got him tripled.
And then the Black Cat came by as well.
No, that's for James Vining, who's watching along from tonight's race from home. Frank Harris with significant damage. Jeff Stabnow also passing by Chris White. Update, though, on the 11, Wesley.
Yeah, just checked in on the crew with the 11 of Frank Harris. He does have damage, but it's not that bad, not that significant to cause him to have to come down to the pit lane and take on service. So he will still stay out there on the racetrack, wait for a caution, because he's got a feeling one's coming soon with all the crazy driving. That's the word he used, crazy driving going on out there. And then when he gets the caution, he'll try to go on the damage clock, or if need be, he'll then make a fast repair. Hey, and there's his wish. The swag yellow flag is out again there, Justin.
It's John Annenbacher with another swag yellow. And this will trigger a pit stop window. Everybody can make it on fuel from here, but the tire game could be wide open from here if there's more yellows.
Justin, I think we saw a couple of green flag stops just before this. I saw 2 cars on the apron coming back up to speed, Dylan Kane and Ottenbacher.
They're really going to be unhappy in a second box.
That's the third time he's been involved in this cautions, guys.
There's something going on with the settings in the 165 camp right now. Something is not set to his liking.
If it's talked about he need to work on some stuff, he's going to have to work on a lot of stuff after tonight. But pit stops coming up here for your race leaders. They can make it on fuel from here. It's now going to be about the tires here, which is going to be the crucial part. If there's more cautions, we may see a wide open book, Wesley.
Yes, matter of fact, no need to contact you anymore. You threw it right down to me. Pit stops here. Possibly the money stop unless they go for that tire gamble. By the way, John Ottenbacher just checked in on him on the number 89 LSR TV car. He is done for. He says he's done. As right now, pit stops are underway. As Sean Breitzman right there at the front of the pit stall. Josh Marcy right there. The entire cavalry on pit road. Looks like everybody got into their box perfectly. No mistakes. One car squilling off of the pit lane. I think it's going to be close. Give it to Don Breitzman. There he is. Breitzman beating Seth Fraser off the pit lane. Dan West Jr. What a bounce back for him after problems in the early going to the 55. BJ Tindrick looking good. Jeff Stab now in the top 5. And all the rest of the cavalry. 4 tires, fuel, fill up the tanks, making a couple of adjustments along the way. But again, John Ottenbacher sounds very disappointed. I'll try to see if I can get a word with him on the broadcast, but he says for the most part, he's done.
A rough break for him, and as expected, all the lead cars coming in, by the way, 19 of them. Check that 20 with Frank Harris on the lead lap. Want to take this time at this mark, by the way, here, Greg, to talk about this round of the playoffs. There are 3 total rounds, including the championship race at Phoenix. This round, 4 races. Atlanta, you see tonight. Then on November 2nd, Watkins Glen for the road course race of the round. Richmond, the Charlotte Oval. Round 2, Iowa, Michigan, New Hampshire, Texas. Then, of course, that championship race is mentioned in the desert. An interesting schedule, to say the least, Greg.
Yeah, that is a very, very complex playoff schedule. Especially, I mean, just the first round alone, very complex. Because if you go from Atlanta, 1.5-mile oval, to a road course, Watkins Glen, to a short track in Richmond, which always puts on spectacular racing. You know, Seth Fraser is going to be happy we're going back to Richmond. He won here or there in the spring. To the Charlotte Oval, another 1.5-mile track. You've got all 3 forms of NASCAR racing in the big schedules right now. You got intermediate, you've got road course, and short track. No big super speedway, but intermediate, road course, short track. Back to back to back here to kick off the playoffs.
Wesley standing by in the pit lane.
The number 12 seed going into round 1 of the Napa West Bay Auto Parts playoffs for the Northwest Cup Series presented by Walter Beard Co. and LSR TV was John Ottenbacher. John Ottenbacher, the number 89 LSR TV entry. John, I know you're done for. What's your take of the race here at Atlanta?
It's a little rough out there.
Why do you think it is?
Well, it's kind of tough if you didn't practice on this track at all. It's that thing gets a little bit loose on you because most of those guys can hold it wide open for a few laps. So if you're not used to that, it's hard to handle.
How bad of a slump are you in now? Obviously, you are the number 12 seed, but this has definitely got to be a giddy up and gallop now whenever you come to Watkins Glen in 2 weeks to try to make it into the round of 8.
Yeah, I had to have a good showing here because Watkins Glen, I'll be okay there, but I won't probably finish high enough to stay in. And then the following race, I will be in Arizona watching the race down there. So I'll be missing that 3rd race, and so I'll be out of the playoffs.
Wow, so this is just the start of what dismal time, Justin and Greg, that will pretty much eliminate John Ottenbacher from the round of 8. His quest will probably end here at Atlanta. We're coming back for the restart. John Ottenbacher, thank you.
Yep, have a good one.
That's John Ottenbacher. Ready to see what continues here at Atlanta. Justin, back underway.
Thank you, Wesley. Under 60 laps to go, just past halfway in this one. Sean Brightsman with a good launch. Dan West Jr., Seth Frazier, Jeff Stabnow, BJ Tidrick fighting with Brett Johnson for the top 5. And we were just talking about the playoffs a little bit. The drivers to think about. Richmond was won by Frazier back in the spring. The road courses were dominated by your race leader, Brightsman. Charlotte was won by Dan West Jr. in a crazy one.
So that's what you got to watch for in this round here for these next 3 races, as Brightsman trying to sweep the year at Atlanta and the week here at Atlanta. That would be huge for Sean Brightsman to be able to pull that off. But Frazier in the 32 getting a nice run in the outside, trying to get the lead back. Meanwhile, here comes the possum, Jeff Stabnow, up in the top 5 now.
He's been slowly but methodically making his way through the field. This is the highest up he's been all race, P4. He's going to be watching, though, as Seth Frazier wants his lead back. Frazier in the 32 on the outside to Brightsman in the 46 in the 1 and 2. Frazier has been good on the squeeze off turn 2. His squeeze works this time.
Frazier trying to hold on in the 32. Brightsman to the inside. Dan West Jr. trying to decide who he's going to go with. He's going to go with Frazier and Tidrick up there. All top 5 playoff drivers here. Top 6 playoff drivers, as White is able to get around Brett Johnson. All these drivers trying to punch their ticket to the next round of the playoffs. All here at Atlanta. Just past halfway. West Jr. fighting back.
West Jr., though, bobbling a little bit in turns 1 and 2. Here's something else to keep in mind. We talked about us starting early morning in this one. It's already past noon. The track temp is up by 18 plus degrees from qualifying, give or take.
That is substantial here for this one. We talked about the racing surface being, quote, ice cold for some of these drivers when it's down in the 80s like that. Not anymore. It's getting slippier and slippier out there.
Air temp also, by the way, a little bit higher in that one. But speaking of getting higher up, that top line is starting to come into play now that the track's a little bit slicker for some of the short run cars. Before, bottom line is to be the quicker line because that's the shortest way around. But with the hotter temps, the top line can work a little bit for the first 10 laps of a run.
And that's what we're seeing BJ Tidrick do in the 72, as he's able to get around both Stabnow and Brightsman. Tidrick in the 72, he's one of those surprise playoff drivers. That win at Darlington really jump-started his season. Oh, as we talk about him, a big slide. Nice save by Tidrick, but that's going to cost him 3rd place, perhaps, to Brightsman.
Drivers now needing to adjust to all of this. Chris White now gaining some time back. Your main group at the moment is Frazier, West Jr., Brightsman, Tidrick, Stabnow, White, Marcy, Johnson, Garber, Thurston. Nose to tail, a 1.3 second gap for your cars in that top 10 grouping at the moment. $52 to go, this time by Greg.
Yeah, Frazier leading the way. Brightsman up to 3rd now as he's gotten back around Tidrick after that big slide. West Jr. right on the tail of Seth Frazier. Justin, I believe I would say Seth Frazier has the best short run car here thus far, but the longer the run goes, the more that 55 and 46 come alive, and we're seeing it now as West Jr. to the inside of Frazier.
Good run on the corner entry, but hit the apron, I believe. The 55 loses momentum off the corner. Frazier nearly spins it off the corner from the top line. And now Brightsman deciding to go tandem drafting rather, into the corner. Doesn't work, though, here usually at Atlanta.
That actually wound up costing them, as Frazier was able to get a run on the backstretch and get back around them. So Frazier able to go on defense there with the tandem draft beneath him and keep the lead as White goes back to the inside of Tidrick now. That is the 5th spot, but Tidrick done yet with Stabnow either.
I think Tidrick, though, hit the gas a little bit too hard there, trying to wheel it up to the top side. Your top 3 now starting to pull away. Jeff Stabnow leading the 2nd grouping. It's been a recovery drive for Dan West Jr. after crashing down the backstretch early in this race. He's now hunting for your race lead. 50 to go. Let's go side by side. You're watching and listening to the Northwest Cup Racing Series and its Cup Series for the first race of the West Bay Napa Auto Parts Playoffs for the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway on LSR TV and CRN Sports.
We're based out of West Monroe, Louisiana. We do custom T-shirts, racing. We'll do any shirt. We'll do schools, churches, fundraisers. We do a ton of event shirts, as you can see on our board here, all around our banner, personalized. I mean, we do anything. It doesn't matter to us. We got the custom rugs. We use all the, top quality shirts, inks and everything, hoodies, hats. We do embroidered hats, embroidered shirts. Just you can call us for anything. We do offer the bag and fold to where you can receive them and they're already labeled and tagged and bagged, ready to give out to your customer and stuff. So you can just call us and just tell us, hey, this is what we're looking at doing. And if we're going to put the car on there, it is 125 quantity minimum. If it's without the car, it's 60 quantity minimum. That's strictly on the racing stuff. If it's a business or something, if you race on Texas shirts, it's a little bit differently. You can call us. It just depends on your quantity and ink color. Everything is hand drawn. I mean, everything. We don't Photoshop anything onto a shirt or anything like that. Everything that we go through, everything is drawn, and which is the reason for the art fees. We do have several graphic artists that draw for us, and they're really good. So what we do is on any package that you do, we can mix and match. We can do any colors. You can do purple, red, blue, green, and do the rest black. It doesn't matter to us. With your design on there, we can do hoodies. We can do hoodies, long sleeve shirts, t-shirts, tank tops. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's almost limitless what you can do, and you can put all that together in that package to make that minimum requirements. They can call us 318-278-7191, or they can email us at bulletprooftees@yahoo.com, or they can go to the website bulletprooftees.com.
Fans on OSR TV seen it on the side-by-side. 45 to go this time. Dan West Jr., Seth Frazier, and Sean Brightsman have been scrapping for the race lead for about 10 laps straight. Justin Prince, Greg Rentz, Wesley Upland with you, Charles Wooden in the director's seat for race 1 of the West Bay Napa Auto Parts Playoffs in the round of 12. This has been an intriguing race so far, one of our longest green flag runs yet. Frazier looking to hold on. Dan West Jr. looking for his second win in Atlanta. Sean Brightsman looking for what could be 3 out of 4 if he can find his way to the lead.
Yeah, Dan West Jr., the other driver to win in Atlanta. Brightsman and West both looking high on Brightsman. Oh, one car in the wall back there. I believe Casey Garber may have just scraped the wall into number 94. Looked like it was him. Could not
It's
tell.
James Thurston. James Thurston. And it also collected the newcomer after a great run. It's Nathan Clifford. Also stopped to the backstretch. Thurston, no front clip, no caution. The race lead now heating up after that incident. Dan West Jr. sending it in turn 1 and 2. Look to try and take the lead. Good run as Frazier loses it on the top.
Frazier with a nice recovery, though. Tyler King off to a slide in the back. West able to get the nose in. Chris White back to third in the 83. And West able to clear Frazier into number 32 as things settle down up front for the time being. Boy, with all the modifieds we've seen in this race, who knows? Maybe during the offseason we'll see like the little Northwest Modified Challenge, a couple short track races and some modifieds.
It was talked about by Wesley. The thing is, the class has plenty as well for the Cup cars tonight. To put it that way. Chris White, though, up to P3 and all that shuffling. Sean Brightsman giving him some space to work, and Jeff Stabnow, who got loose a couple laps ago, also in the top 5 grouping. 42 to go, and now the main thing is, can Dan West Jr. check out? He was pretty quick in the spring in Atlanta, too.
And West Jr. always has speed everywhere we go, let alone here at the track that he won the spring truck race. Has had speed in the Cup car both times we've been here. Has always been one of the key guys here in the Northwest Racing Series. And hearing rumors, Justin, we may see Dan West Jr. in the Northwest Tour, the Super Late Model Series, starting up next week.
And the Northwest Tour, of course, big in the community. The Northwest region and its drivers also big. But also you've seen that big collision a bit down the backstretch. Thurston Clifford, big damage, Wesley.
Yeah, Nathan Clifford in the 95, he is definitely dejected. He is out of the race. He will not be making a return here in the 95 car. He is out. Thurston on the damage clock right now, trying to see if he could possibly try to salvage something. But, of course, as you said, his car already looked like a virtual modified with the entire front clip gone on the car number 2. And it's a tough break because, we mentioned Greg earlier that he had a really good run going into the opening round of the playoffs for the trucks here at Atlanta. last Thursday night. But again, just a tough break. A lot of damage, a lot of virtual calamity here tonight. Definitely going to have to try to figure things out. And I'll be honest, I think a lot of these drivers are going to be really glad they got a week off next Monday.
Yeah, at this point, it's not just the track getting hot. It's also been the tempers. It's also been the engines popping, unfortunately, for some cars with a lot of the damage, forcing the radiators to get hot. That bad pun leads to 39 to go. But Fraser's starting to fall off a little bit. And Chris White, he's also pushing way too hard up into the wall, nearly out of 2.
Pushing up the track as Brightsman to the inside in the number 46. Move him back to 3rd. Hey, Justin, James Vining's in the chat, and he just said that Abby, the reason they call him Catman, decided to hop in and say hello to the viewers at home. So, hey, we finally got an identity on the cat, which has become so famous here on LSR TV. Hello, Abby the cat, watching with James.
I didn't know it had a name. Then again, cats also have names. Yes, don't assume cats don't have names, because they eventually make their own names if you don't have them.
That's
By the way,
Penny.
Joshua Arce in 6th, BJ Chidrick, Brett Johnson, Dan Lowther, your top 9 in this draft. Someone, though, is going to have to try and make a move here, because at this point on, we could see a caution that could trigger everyone back down to the pits, yes, but then after that mark, we could see mixed strategies, if there is one.
And if you want to talk mixed strategies, look no further than that cat in 3rd, no pun intended to the previous caution or comment. But Sean Brightsman in 3rd always won the roll the dice here at Atlanta. The question is, Justin, if we stay green the rest of the way, is 2 tires one of his favorite moves?
Yeah.
Is 2 tires worth it with how abrasive this is?
Didn't he try that in the spring?
He might have. I know he did it at Dover and it worked out. I can't remember what the scenario was in the spring that allowed Brightsman to pull off that victory.
I know he pulled off strategy in that race. 2 tires has worked out for several of his victories this season. 2 tires also is very difficult at Atlanta, but this is this package. And this is a bit of a different fixed setup for tonight. We talked about this a bit before. Advanced open setups are what these drivers are using the rest of the way, which are known to be much more faster in some cases and have different handling characteristics than the normal fixed.
Track temperature is also going to play a role in this, Justin. We're above triple digits now on the racing surface, 101 degrees, and it just bit Josh Marcy. Nice save by the 35, but it is getting slippery out there as the 35 just found out. Josh Marcy was running so strong in the early going, but as this track has gotten hotter, the race has worn on, he's having a hard time getting back in the top 5.
Have to give him credit. It's been a nice and solid day for him so far. Chris White is also looking more improved than his last run still, keeping up. He fell off a ton, remember, in some of these short runs. He seems to have figured out tire saving a little bit better here. But also think about this. Some of the drivers who need good runs for some valuable points early in this round are still floundering a bit. Corey Walters in 13th. Carl Burke is in 18th right now. Ricky Bozier is in 21st, still recovering from technical issues. And Tyler King just pit under green all of a sudden in the 44.
And we were seeing green flag pit stops get ready to start on that last caution right before it happened. So Tyler King maybe using that undercut strategy, try and fake some of these drivers out, or try to get as much track position as he can, knowing, hey, the rest of the guys know they can make it on fuel the rest of the way. If Tyler can get himself in a good position here, he may have the freshest tires on the track for quite some time and be able to click laps away. But this is a gutsy call.
I think he's got some problems with the car. That's more so the trigger here, Greg, since that was 29 laps into a run, including caution flag laps.
And he's already got all 4 tires on the car, and he is still sitting on pit road, and he is not showing any signs.
This may be scheduled, though. Garber is in.
Casey Garber in the 94 coming down. He's on pit road. Looks like right side tires are up. Wesley, there at you.
Yeah, they are. They're all coming out of the pit lane. I'm actually trying to find out what's going on with the number, our driver Tyler King of the 44. But yeah, the 94 KC Garber's on the pit lane. It's going to be 4 tires, fuel. Definitely going to roll down onto the pit lane and go on. Tyler King still off of the racetrack. I'm trying to find out what the story is on that. Thurston as well. We mentioned him still on the pit lane. So several laps down again, as here comes other cars working their way, and I got a feeling we're going to see a sequence of green flag pit stops as we see a battle for the lead heat up down the double dog leg front stretch.
That's for P2. In fact, 7/10 up the road is Dan West Jr. Sean Brightsman under attack with Seth Frazier on the outside. Stabno trying to pick up draft from him, but that top line just seems to be not working as well now as the tires have worked in. It's good off the corner, but in the corners you want to be on the bottom.
And we're seeing that exactly with Sean Brightsman, able to get a nice run on the inside of Frazier. But this is where the outside comes in right there. That runoff for Frazier has been strong on the outside. Drag race to the line, waiting for time and scoring to up. They give it to Frazier that time, but Brightsman able to fight back in second. Now this is where things are going to change for this, because now Jeff Stabnow is in a spot that he can draft off these guys, and we'll see what that does with Stabnow in the number 24 entering the picture.
Garrett Huffines is also in. We're seeing strategies from iRacing that worked in 2015 taking place all of a sudden here. Pit stops under green after 33 laps, Wesley, coming into play.
And by the way, I found out what went on with Tyler King. A Section 1 penalty, EOL, sent to the 44 of Tyler King for speeding onto the pit lane. That is why he had to stay onto the pits and suffer a penalty. Speeding onto the pit lane is what the cost is on that 44. But also, yes, drivers on the pit lane, take it on service, ready to go, ready for the home stretch. But yeah, didn't mean to get off track there. Jeff Hagan's on the pit lane now in the 27. And again, Tyler King, penalty for entering pit lane too fast. Justin, we talked about that before we went green. You can't make these mistakes, as again, Hagan off the pace in the grass on the bottom of the apron.
He nearly looped it up the track, no caution. Thank goodness. That was right as the leaders passed on by. That could have been huge.
That could have been a disaster for our playoff drivers. Remember, Dan West Jr., the 55, already using the fast repair in that number 55. Early in this race, has done a phenomenal job staying out there and keeping it clean, but that could have been deadly for him.
Here's the thing, as Hagan is still rolling on the apron after what has been an abysmal race from him coming back to the pit lane for obvious reasons. The lead group, Dan West Jr. has been able to break away from it. You know why? They've scrapped a ton. They've lost half a second plus at minimum, trying to fight side by side between Frazier and Brightsman. West Jr.'s broken the draft as a result.
And what he's doing is keeping them at a steady distance, too. He's not losing ground. He's not exactly gaining ground so much anymore either. Just keeping them at bay like that, he's able to click away more and more laps. We're coming up on about 25 or so to go here pretty quickly in this one. So with West Jr. just out in front with that steady lead right now, the rest of the field might need a caution because these tires are now used up. That advantage is gone, so if they want to get back to him, they may need a caution.
Wesley standing by with the curious case that is Jeff Hagan's race.
Yeah, Jeff Hagan, a tight car right now. Loose end tight off the center. That caused him to lose control. Dropped down below the apron. Went into the infield apron of the grass and then was able to do a great piece of driving to avoid spinning in the pack, as we were talking about Tyler King. Well, guess what happened to Hagan? He got busted with a Sector 1 speeding penalty to boot. He now is penalized in the pit lane on the 27. Also, Frank Harris in the wreck earlier, damaged, fixed. He's right now on the pit lane for the money stop possibly, as well as Chris White at 83. They are down and away. And again, you gotta not make these mistakes. They're costly, whether you're in the playoffs, especially in the playoffs, but even if you're just a driver in general, can't be speeded on pit road.
By the way, Chris White got held up by Hagan as he was also coming out of the pit lane at the same time. Ricky Bozier also coming in. Here's the head scratching part. You can make it on fuel, Greg. Do you think they can close up a full lap plus in 22 laps, though, if it stays green?
I don't know. If this thing stays green, that's asking a lot, especially here at a 1.5 mile oval. Yes, it's Atlanta. The tires are going to be used up very quickly, but a full lap in 22 laps if we stay green, I don't see it.
The fall-off's only been 2.2 seconds so far on the run, but it could get higher. It's a gamble. You have to give them credit. They're trying something, but still, plenty of laps to go. Dan West Jr.'s lead is extending now, too. He has the fastest car on the older tires by up to 0.2. The group you see on screen running 32 flats at some points.
Yeah, it's up to 1.6 seconds over Brightsman and Frazier. Brightsman, of course, not afraid to try different stuff. Very successful in Atlanta. Not only did he win the spring race here and the truck race here on Thursday, last year in the truck series, also won the race here at Atlanta in the 2019 truck series. He knows how to get it done in Atlanta. That's not the question. The problem for him right now is he's running out of time and running out of track because Dan West Jr. is pulling away.
Yeah, they need to figure out something here, and this may open up the rabbit's foot of strategy. We talked about a little bit if something has to happen here. At the moment, with all the pit stops, only 12 cars remain in the lead lap, by the way. The last of Carl Burke. Among the drivers not in the playoffs up towards the front, Bruce Lee Weaver in P9. Brett Johnson having a good run in 7th of note. Also keep in mind Garrett Huffines, also on the tire strat, is in 14th. He was running near the top 10 at some points. Just a consistent run, the longest green flag run of the race here.
And that's good. That's what these drivers needed, a long green flag run, because no doubt the frustration was starting to set in the first half of the race with all those cautions coming out. And we talked about it, 8 cautions here in the spring. We haven't quite hit that number yet, but we were beginning to creep up on it. But this long green flag run has really helped things settle down. West Jr. up down to 2 seconds over the battle for second now as Frazier got a run on the outside of Brightsman. Frazier looking for second, and going into turn number 3, he might get it.
By the way, that was Ricky Bozier along with the narrow car. I believe that was Dan Lowther nearly wrecking the backdrop. But Seth Frazier, he's now the faster car in this grouping. He's now 2.2 seconds backing up to P2 once again. It's been a great race for Frazier, you have to say, though, in Atlanta. He's been able to lead a majority of the laps tonight. It's been his type of night. Him and Dan West Jr. have been the kings of the field.
Frazier led pretty much the entire first half of the race. West Jr. leading so far for most of the second half of the race. Frazier has gotten around and cleared Brightsman, but now the problem is, does he have enough time to get up there and try to catch up to West Jr.?
Especially since West Jr. is a 10th plus quicker than all of these cars. Jeff Stabnow going under attack as well. Looking to attack Brightsman. See from the swag on board. Stabnow was on the bottom of the racetrack. He struggled at times to make moves there. But with the older tires, he waves goodbye. Moves Stabnow up to 3rd. Brightsman struggling in this run now.
Yeah, those tires are really used up on the 46. You would think he is wanting a caution right now to try to set up a run to the finish. And the way that car is handling right now, Justin, I think for Sean Brightsman, I think this would be one of the few times we would see him take 4 tires late.
You'd have to at this rate. They also have a car with fresh tires blitzing through the field. That is Ricky Bozier, 6 laps down, by the way, that these cars all have to deal with. Casey Garber has pit a second time in 16 laps. He's out of contention now. Carl Burke also with a bit of a problem we're hearing on the radio, saying, come on.
Burke
that was with Chris
issues.
Torres.
Yeah, Burke having some issues with Torres late in the race. Here they are, the 53 and the 99.
Torres had swerved down into turn 1 in front of him and nearly smacked him and held him up by a couple seconds. That was the battle for last on the lead lap, by the way. Referred to. Burke, of course, a playoff driver needing some valuable points. Torres looking to recover from an adventure, let's put it that way, from Saturday. But 13 to go, this time for your race leaders around this track. West Jr. still pulling off and away. The fresh tire drivers are all still 1 lap down and are still trying to unlap themselves in that main group. Chris White also now carving his way through with the back end of the 42.
And here's the problem for those fresh tire drivers. Even if we do catch a caution, you're all pinned 1 lap down. Your only shot of getting back on the lead lap, unless you're Chris White, who's the first car 1 lap down, would be taking the wave around, which would mean, Justin, staying out on those older tires while everybody in front of you gets those fresh tires.
I just don't get the call. Again,
that was a gutsy call. I think they were trying to catch a caution right as that happened, like right as the pit stops happened, to have a couple laps fresher tires than these guys. But I think they were just banking on the way the race had gone, getting another caution, and it just hasn't come.
I mean, I knew I got it with Hagan, but still. That's now put them behind where they were in the top 10 before, some of these cars. Jeff Stabnow attacking Seth Frazier, by the way, coming up to 10 to go this time. Stabnow looking like he's the quicker car in the whole group than anybody else. Fall-off is now up to nearly 3 seconds.
Stabnow trying to get up on Frazier for second and perhaps steal it from Frazier late in the race.
Hey guys, here's something to also think about as we watch this battle with Frazier and Stabnow. Justin, they have history.
Good to know. Really good to know. They've been clean throughout their fighting so far tonight, but it might not be an easy fight. 9 to go this time. The leader, by the way, swamped in traffic of fresher tires, having let by several cars. That will allow these drivers to gain about 2 tenths or so on the pylon.
So the lap's clicking away. We're inside 10 to go now. West Jr. in the 55 has pulled away just about 3 seconds. The gap is closing, though, with West trying to get himself through lap traffic, but even at the rate they're going, I don't think they have enough.
They're going to need some luck. Maybe pick up some of Sean Brightsman's luck. Fight behind them. Brett Johnson, Josh Marcy. Quietly a strong run for the 7 car of note. His Coca-Cola machine has been having a very good night. 22nd of the points entering tonight. One of your best of the rest drivers, presented by LSR TV. Just his 13th start of the evening. Only 3 top 10s on the season entering tonight.
And he is well on his way to top 10, number 4. He just passed Josh Marcy for 6th. And a nice run for Josh Marcy. This was much needed for the 35. Not going to be a winning performance out of him, but the way his last couple months have gone, he needed a solid top 10. It looks like he's on pace to get that.
P2 has swapped hands. Jeff Stabnow got a huge run on Frazier. Frazier let him go. So, that history, not adding up on the track. By the way, the 24. Now near contact with Frazier in 1 and 2. Frazier tried to side draft him and tightly squeezed on him in the corner. Now lost a ton of time.
Ooh, but Stabnow a little bit of a bobble there off turn 2, which is going to allow Frazier to get the run on the outside again. But Stabnow taking the run away, forcing Frazier back to the bottom. Stabnow up to 2nd. Big in the playoffs as well as all the top 5. West, Stabnow, Frazier, Brightsman, and Tidrick all in the playoffs. These are all playoff points that are still on the line. This is very much undecided still.
Coming up to 5 to go. And Frazier, he's not backing down. These are the 2 quickest cars in the group. They've ran away from Brightsman now. Still, having to get to the back bumper if he wants to do something.
Now you wonder if Tidrick has enough to try to get up there and contend with Brightsman. Going to be 5 laps to go. Dan West Jr. crossing the stripe now. Barney has 5 fingers in the air, but the rest of the field, 2nd through 6th, they're all still battling for position. And now Johnson to the inside of Tidrick. Brett Johnson seems to be the fastest car in the group now.
So Dan West Jr.'s in the traffic, but you mentioned it there, the 7 in turn 2 makes the move on the 72. So the Coca-Cola car is even quicker now than Stabnow and Frazier. He might get what would be just his 2nd top 5 of the season if he can hold on.
He's in 5th now. If he can get Brightsman in the next lap or 2, he has enough speed. He might be able to get up there and contend with Frazier and Stabnow for maybe even a spot on the podium, but he's going to have to get around Brightsman, I believe, by this corner in order to make it happen.
We've stressed about the importance and the significance of Sean Brightsman and some of his victories throughout this season. Brightsman letting by Johnson, but as we get to 3 laps to go, and Johnson makes the move for P4. Dan West Jr. is also looking for some history. He entered tonight with 17 career victories in the Northwest Racing Series and its sanctioned series. He has the chance to tie with Jason Berg. If he can hold on for just a couple more laps, that would tie him for 4th all time.
But here's the amazing stat with Jason Berg, Justin. Those 18 wins, pretty sure all of those came in 1 year in the Northwest Racing Series, that being last year in the final year of the Northwest Xfinity Series. Jason Berg had an absolutely dominating season in the Northwest Xfinity Series, and pretty much every single one of his wins came in that championship campaign.
All but one, actually. He won a truck race at Auto Club.
Shows you how dominant Berg has been, and there are also rumors rumbling around that Berg may be returning to the iRacing server to start off with the Northwest Tour, in which he leads the all-time win list with 12 going into that one. Next closest is Seth Frazier, your defending champion in that series, with 4, but Dan West Jr. just took the white flag.
That's the CRN, 1 to go. Final lap for Dan West Jr. He's been one of the kings of the field. He was one of the more dominant drivers in the springtime. Led a majority of the laps in the Truck Series back in the spring. Was a contender for the victory. And was the quickest drivers on the long run at Atlanta at that time as well. Now, he'll come away out of turns 3 and 4 with his 2nd win of the track in 2020. He's now tied for 4th all time in wins in the Northwest Racing Series. He's now into the round of 8 for the West Bay Napo Auto Parts playoffs.
Turn that name yellow for Dan West Jr. in the number 55. He is through to the round of 8. A big one for West Jr., especially after what happened in the early stages of this race. Jeff Stab now 2nd. Big points night for the Possum. Frazier comes home 3rd.
And Brett Johnson, credit to him, one of his best finishes of the year, 2nd top 5. Brightsman holds on to said top 5. What a run for Dan West Jr., though. The luck wasn't on his side last spring in Atlanta early in the season. It was on his side with the long run to end it for him this evening.
Dan West Jr. smoking if you got him. His win launches himself into the round of 8. Just a little crack to the rear end there on the number 55. And Justin, as he burns it down, you see the rest of the field going by at speed, which means as we get set to key up our official results, the traditional Northwest Racing Series Demo Derby is underway.
Eric Cheney congratulates him in the Northwest Racing Series way. Perfect time to look at your unofficial race results as everyone else joins the party festivities. Dan West Jr., his 18th career Northwest Racing Series victory comes at Hotlanta by more than 2 seconds over Jeff Stabnell. Seth Frazier finishes in 3rd with Brett Johnson and Sean Brightsman rounding out your top 5 tonight. DJ Titterick finishes in 6th with Josh Marcy in 7th. Dan Lather quietly back up the P8 with the checker flag 11 seconds back. Corey Walters recovers from a slam into the inside wall to 9th. Bruce Lee Weaver, who got a victory early in the year but didn't make the top 16 in points to get himself in the playoffs, puts himself into a top 10 finish on the run. By the way, 5th win in the Cup Series for the 55 this season.
How about Carl Burke, Justin? Started 31st on a provisional, had some issues with some traffic, comes home with an 11th place finish, big in the points for 53 of Burke. Final car on the lead lap is Chris White, who was able to unlap himself under green there in that run to the finish. He finishes 12th. Chris Torres, first car, 1 lap down in the 99. Garrett Huffines, an up and down night, comes home in 14th. Frank Harris had such a great run going. Unfortunately, it ended with any shot at a good finish in the hit to the wall. In 15th, Nick Bellamy, Eric Cheney, Tyler King, Jeff Hagan, Ricky Bozer round out the top 20.
In the rest of the field, the Ouchbane list, as I like to call it. 21st, Toby Ritters, 8 laps down. Stephen Paulson put up a qualifying time that was more than a minute, crashed early in the race, crashed again, finishes P9, or 9 laps down rather, in 22nd for P22. Not the strategy I think he was hoping for by staying at the back. Casey Garber finishes 23rd after an incident for him. James Thurston DNF along with Nathan Clifford, 44 and 45 laps down, respectively. Joshua Beal finishes 26th. John Audenbacher, a tough break for him, 27th. Dylan Kane, going to need to work on equipment stuff in 28th. Scott Hutchinson, a bad race in 29th. Wayne Rick, Devin West, Robert Campbell round out your 32 entrants for tonight's racing action here for the Northwest Cup Series. An exciting race here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. What a night for Dan West Jr. What a performance for these competitors. I think a lot of these drivers are going to be happy with how this night went on for them, Greg.
Yeah, great night for some of these drivers. Playoff contenders in must win, or not much must win, but got to get off to a good start. Your guys like West Jr., who locked himself into the round of 8, but your guys like Stabnow, Frazier, Brightsman, needing top 5s early, they got it.
Don't worry about it.
We'll take this time to bring you into the Clan Wars post-race show here on LSR TV and CRN Sports.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LS.
Partner of LSR TV and your official sponsor for the post-race show for tonight's action for the Northwest Racing Series and its Cup Series. Race 1 of the West Bay Napa Auto Parts playoffs were an exciting one this evening. Playoff drivers finished 1, 2, 3. Justin Prince, Greg Rentz, Wesley Elwin with you. Charles Wooden in the director's seat. For tonight's action, Wesley Elwin standing by with your third place finisher to start things off. It's Seth Frazier.
Yeah, Seth Frazier in the number 2 seed as the Napa West Bay Auto Parts playoffs round 1 conclude here at Atlanta. When the race started, you were in second. You're probably going to stay in a good spot, but obviously you wanted that checkered flag. You wanted to advance into the round of 8 with this race win at Atlanta. Seth, what's your take of the race and finishing in third on the podium tonight?
It was a fun race. You know, there was some interesting strategy that played out throughout the race. I wanted to make sure tonight not to do anything too risky and just play it safe on points. So third's not bad.
What would you say your take of the race tonight was? I mean, it seemed like, you know, we were kind of talking during post a little bit with your crew and the other drivers as well, getting ready for the Clan Wars Servers post-race wrap-up, and you kind of said, well, you know, we had some problems, but once things got weeded out, the cream of the crop rose, and we were able to put on a good show for the finish.
Well, with all those early cautions, definitely, you know, you got to try to play the track position game a little bit. And, I mean, all in all, I think it was a pretty good race. This track's pretty tough on long runs. This setup kind of surprised most of us, I think, with how it drove. So it was interesting to try to adapt as the race went through.
Hey, real quickly, Seth, before I let you go, buddy, thank your partners on the 32. And I think it's going to be suffice to say it's going to be nice to have a week off, not only for the trucks on Thursday, but also for the Cup Series next Monday night. And then you get ready to turn left and right and chicanes and bootlegs and more at Watkins Glen for round 2 of the playoffs.
Well, I'm just going to try to survive Watkins Glen and not have too terrible of a finish. And besides that, I need to thank West Bay Napa Auto Parts for coming on board and sponsoring us, this whole league, for the playoffs. I thank Paul Bearer for you know, coming on board with this funeral parlor. He's busy with all the bodies he takes care of at night, so for him to come on board means a lot to all of us, and the rest of my guys back at the shop.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where he finishes in the number 2 seed to start it, but he'll go a podium here to wrap up Atlanta, getting ready for Watkins Glen. And I think the word we just heard importantly is survival at Watkins Glen for the second round. That is Seth Frazier, third place tonight at Atlanta. The number 5 seed going into the playoffs tonight at Atlanta is with Greg Rentz, and that is the 24 of Jeff Stabnow.
And Jeff, you kind of rode around mid-pack for the first half of the race, but right around halfway, we looked up and said, oh, here comes Stabnow, because you were suddenly up in the top 5, just patiently making your way through the field there. Not a bad start to the playoffs.
I think the goal was to keep it clean and finish well. That qualifying effort had me a little bit nervous, so I probably took a little extra early on that first half of the race till I got up there with those guys in, the top 7 or 8, next to guys that I fully trusted and was ready to kind of race with a little bit. So, early cautions kind of messed that up, but it all worked out in the end. I'll take a second.
Jeff, tell us about the climb through the field at the end of the race. You mentioned you were up there with drivers you trust. Getting around Brightsman there late, getting around Frazier there late, then having to hold off a late charge from Frazier. As West Jr. was pulling away, you were locked in that dogfight with them for like the entire 20 laps. Let's see what happened, or let's talk about what happened there at the end with that battle.
That last run was pretty interesting, pretty fun. We didn't have enough gas, right? We had about 58, 59 laps tops in those cars based on our testing. So we all knew that we were in save mode, but you also didn't want to give up track position. Like Josh Marcy and, some of these guys were kind of wanting to make a charge up to the front. So you didn't want to lose track position, but we were trying to save gas. Ultimately, I think I saved a little bit of gas. It was go time for me with 20 to go, and I think I should have been go time with 30 to go. Maybe I'd have had a chance to get a little closer to Dan, but I think Dan was probably able to save quite a bit because, like you said, we were all running side by side. There was 4 or 5 of us there, 6 of us that were kind of moving side by side and just trying to pick your way through there without doing anything stupid, without wrecking yourself or anybody else. You'd get the tires a little bit hot and maybe slide the rear end, or the front end would start pushing, getting into a corner, and I'd back up and cool it down for a few laps, right? Maybe I'd get a little racy with these guys and didn't work, tires would get hot, so I'd back up, cool it down. Knew we had time, but at the end of the deal, I didn't leave myself enough time to try to catch Dan. But to be honest with you, I think he got to be away from all that fighting and stuff. I think he probably had a lot left in that car.
Well, Jeff, from the high banks here at Atlanta to the twists and turns in 2 weeks' time at Watkins Glen International, you said you don't fancy yourself a road course racer. However, you do have a victory on the road course here this season. That came at the Charlotte Roval earlier this year. Going into Watkins Glen, you've said you don't fancy yourself a road course driver, but it's playoffs. You have a win. What do you think of the road course coming up?
I actually got a win at Canadian Tire in the trucks, too. So, I've always been fairly fast for a few laps. My problem with the road course has always been consistent. Let's see. At the end of the day, I slide off into a sand trap somewhere. I'd end up doing, one bad lap trying to press or something. This year, for the most part, I've been kind of able to overcome that a little bit. I've still had some problems. I think even that Roval that I won, I think you guys saw me make a couple big mistakes on that second stint there and still just pull it off. But, if there's a road course for me that's probably, I think Watkins Glen's probably my best road course, maybe the easiest one for me. So I think I'm looking forward to it. If I don't shoot myself in the foot, I think I can have a good finish at Watkins Glen.
All right, Jeff, a P2 here tonight for you at Atlanta. Nice start to the playoffs, coming through the field, coming home with a second. Thank your sponsors.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to thank the series sponsors there, Wells Beard Co. and LSR TV, for everything they've done to help us get through this season and the season sponsorships. Playoff sponsors, West Bay Auto Parts, they've got 11 stores here in Western Washington. I think Dan pretty much lives there for his day job. So, but big shout out to them. We're glad they came on board to sponsor the playoffs. And of course, LSR TV again for sponsoring the playoff for the guys that weren't in the playoffs for that competition there. I think that's a great one. And real happy that LSR TV kind of came to us about that one. And, other than that, just, thanks to Dan, really. Him and I were out there practicing a couple nights for this race. We got a lot of laps logged. So it paid off, but I probably wouldn't have done it if Dan hadn't been pushing me.
Second place, Jeff Stabnow. Congratulations. And I believe that Justin Prince has made it down to catch up with the driver who has locked his way in the round of 8. Justin Prince is with Dan West Jr.
A big victory, his 5th of the season, 18th in Northwest Racing Series sanctioned competition, tying him for 4th all time. It also moves him on to the round of 8 for the West Bay Napa Auto Parts playoffs. Dan, how does it feel to win at Atlanta after being the dominant car in the spring and being so close there?
It feels pretty good. The way the race started out, I was kind of wondering.
Dan?
Yeah.
Believe you cut out for a split second there.
How's that? Is that better?
Yes.
Sorry. So yeah, no, it was great. It started out a little rough. We fortunately some cautions came out, and we were able to get some, pit repair, get the car back in good shape, and get back to the front.
That last run, you were able to break away. What was kind of the thought process and how things were going in that cockpit scene? There was a big fight for second, and you then in turn were able to break the draft.
Yeah, I think it goes back with what, like Jeff was saying. Jeff and I actually put some laps in and did some practicing, and we kind of we had a good rhythm. We kind of knew what our lap time should be to run a fuel run, and that's kind of what I based it off of. I was watching my lap times, and I was actually running pretty hard. And it just didn't fall off, to be honest with you. And I in the beginning, I really wasn't worried about the fuel run because I thought I want to get out front. And the way the cautions were falling, I just thought I want to be the first place car. So I went to the front, and then once I seen those guys battling back there, that's when I went into kind of fuel saving mode.
Indeed, there. As talked about, you're now tied for 4th all time in Northwest Racing Series victories. That driver you're tied with is Jason Berg. How does it feel to be tied with someone who was dominating in the Xfinity Series, the predecessor to the Cup Series last year?
Well, Jason Berg is in a whole nother field. I mean, if he was here, he would be the guy we'd all have to beat. So to be tied in wins with him is pretty impressive. But like I say, if he was here, I wouldn't even probably be close to him.
On a positive note, Watkins Glen is next. Your thoughts on that track?
I practiced there the other night, and it was actually fun. I'm starting to take a little bit of a liking to the road course because it is something different. But yeah, looking forward to it in a couple weeks.
Anyone you want to thank for your 5th victory of the season and the one that puts you to the next round of the playoff?
Yeah, West Bay Napa Auto Parts. Like Jeff said, they're my state contract. So the guys here in Shelton, Washington are pretty awesome to deal with, and I'd like to appreciate what they do and thank them. And also Effective Web Solutions and you guys up in LSR TV. You guys are pretty awesome. Like I say, family watches them every week, and we appreciate what you guys do. Very professional. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the time, Dan. Congrats on the victory.
Thanks, guys.
I'd like to thank Dan West Jr., Jeff Stabno, and Seth Frazier for joining us for the Clan Wars post-race show here on LSR TV and CRN Sports. Of note, point standings have already been calculated after tonight's race. Of note, Dan West Jr. is mentioned now locked in for the round of 8. Seth Frazier, the first driver on points behind him. Sean Brightsman, Jeff Stabnow, BJ Tidrick, Dan Lowther, the top 6. Of note, though, the cut line is tight because of how crazy it was for just about every other playoff driver. Corey Walters, he's got about a 1-point cushion above Chris White, who is the bubble driver. Chris White has a 2-point cushion over Carl Burke. The drivers out after that, Ricky Bozier back 8 points from that. About 11 back is Steven Paulison. John Audenbacher, 33 points back, he mentioned. Will have to miss one race at the least, though, in this round, and will likely be out of contention. The best of the rest point leader after tonight is Devin West by 2 points. Stephen O'Hare, the leader coming in, did not start. On that note, Wesley, your final thoughts on this one here from Atlanta?
Same sentiments of the other drivers. Definitely some crazy chaos in the beginning with a lot of caution flags. But if there's one thing we know, next week or in the following week, 2 weeks from now, when we go to Watkins Glen, Dan West Jr. is going to have that bright yellow stripe on the scoring ticker, knowing that he advances to the round of 8 coming up for the second round of course, the Napa West Bay Auto Parts playoffs for the the Northwest iRacing Cup Series. The same can be said about Sean Brightsman on the truck program. And I think that's one of the key things going into this road course, because there's so many unknowns, like we talk about with Talladega or Daytona. The same thing's been recently said about restrictor plates. So for Dan West Jr. in the Cup Series, for Sean Brightsman in the Truck Series, they can be able to know that whatever happens, win or lose, they advance to the round of 8. I think that's the most important thing of all. Should be a good one. Thanks as always for having me a part of the team on LSR TV, as well as our new radio partnership with CRN Sports. Looking forward to the next broadcast tomorrow night for the World of Thunder Cup Series and the Swag Studio Displays Dirt Super Late Model Series on both networks. But a fun night here at Atlanta. But again, congratulations to Dan West Jr. getting it done.
Big victory from him, absolutely. And to turn over to you, Greg, let's talk a little bit more about that next race. The Truck Series and the Cup Series will both go road racing there for their next races. Your thoughts on those two events coming up?
That's going to be the true wild card of this first round, Justin. Right and left, you don't see it in the playoffs very often. So, with that being said, this is going to be a chance for perhaps an oddball winner, if you will. Someone who can capitalize on the inexperience of some of these other drivers in the road course scenario. Guys you got to watch for, of course, Sean Brightsman has been the dominant driver in the road courses right now in the number 46. He has 2 wins on the road courses this year. Jeff Stabnow, the win at the Roval. Playoff driver BJ Titter, can never count him out of the road course. He spends a lot of time prepping for road course racing. He does a lot of official races in road course. Expect him and Dan Lowther to turn a lot of practice laps this week at the road course to get ready. And I think this race is really going to make or break some drivers' playoff hopes here in 2 weeks' time at Watkins Glen.
It's going to be a big race, absolutely, with a lot of pressure. Oh, by the way, there's a chance for history of that, Mark. Just a hint on that again. But still, like to thank you for tuning in, whether it's been on LSR TV or CRN Sports, for tonight's coverage of the Northwest Racing Series and its Cup Series for Race 1 of the Round of 12 for the West Bay Napa Auto Parts Playoffs. For information, be sure to visit West Bay Napa Auto Parts, which includes curbside delivery and pickup in Silverdale, Washington at 9331 Silverdale Way Northwest. Want to visit the place in person or call them? They open at 8 a.m. Pacific tomorrow morning. Phone number 360-692-2924. So I thank the rest of our sponsors, Waltz Beer Co. and LSR TV, the series sponsors for the Northwest Racing Series and its Cup Series for the postseason, as well as the best of the rest sponsorship from LSR TV. But it's time to say goodbye. For our producer, Charles Wooden, for Wesley Altman and Greg Rentz, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your night. Congratulations to Dan West Jr., your winner from Atlanta.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.